Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Scroll to Sleep. Tonight, we're stepping away from the endless feed and settling in with some calming Reddit tales. If these stories help you find some peace and quiet, please consider leaving a like and subscribing for more. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let's dive straight into the stories.
Story 1. The login screen glowed in the dark of my tiny apartment. Sally Mae. The two words that had been a monster under my bed for the last 6 years. I typed in my password, my heart thumping a stupid, frantic rhythm against my ribs. The number popped up on the screen. To $843.17. That was it. The last of it. The final soul-crushing payment on a mountain of debt I'd been chipping away at since my first day in an ambulance. 6 years of ramen, of secondhand scrubs, of saying no to vacations and yes to every overtime shift offered. In 3 days, my next paycheck would hit and that number would become a beautiful, glorious 0. For the first time in my adult life, I was about to have breathing room. An extra $1,000 a month that wasn't earmarked for a past I was trying to outrun. I could replace my couch, which had a suspicious spring that jabbed you in the thigh if you sat on it wrong. I could take a trip somewhere that didn't involve a gurney. I could just be. My phone buzzed on the coffee table, rattling against a water glass. Asterisk. Mom. Asterisk. I stared at the screen, the joy draining out of me like blood from a bad wound. I knew I shouldn't answer. It was after 10, which meant she was home from her shift at the diner, her feet were aching and her mind was spinning. Nothing good ever came from a post 10 p.m. Call from Mom. I answered anyway. Hey, Mom. Chloe, you awake? Her voice was thin, frayed at the edges. Just got in. Long shift. Always a long shift for you, she said. It wasn't a compliment. I was just thinking about Becca. Of course she was. She was always thinking about Becca. My sister, the golden child, currently residing in the state penitentiary for women. My parents, formerly a mid-level manager and a dental hygienist, with a 401k and a paid-off mortgage, were now a part-time stalker at a big box hardware store and a waitress who reeked of stale coffee and fryer. Oil. All for Becca. All because when Becca showed up on their doorstep panicked and covered in someone else's blood, they didn't call the police. They helped her clean up. They lied. Accessory after the fact. Obstruction of justice. They got 2 years, Becca got 10. They lost their jobs, their pensions, their house. They got out 6 months ago and moved into a cramped one-bedroom apartment over a laundromat. And they got slapped with court fines so high they might as well have been a life sentence. Aunt Carol called Mom, continued her voice, dropping into the conspiratorial whisper she used when talking about Becca as if the parole officers were listening through the phone lines. She spoke with Becca's lawyer. He said she's doing okay. Taking a pottery class? That's nice, I said, my voice flat. Pottery? Of course. Becca was probably sculpting the perfect clay-based alibi. It's not nice, Chloe. It's hell, Mom snapped. We can't talk to her. We can't write to her. We can't even see her. Not one visit until those fines are paid. The lawyer said we might get a waiver for phone calls if we show significant progress on the payment plan. There it was. The topic that had become the background music to my life for the past 6 months. The fines. The money. The only thing standing between my parents and their precious imprisoned daughter. I know, Mom. It's a tough situation. A tough situation, she scoffed. Your father's back is thrown out from lifting boxes of patio furniture, and my tips tonight barely covered gas money. This isn't tough, Chloe. This is impossible. A heavy silence hung between us. I knew what she was doing. I could feel the hook being baited. I just stared at the $843.17 on my laptop screen. My number. My freedom. I have to get to bed, Mom. Early start tomorrow. Of course, she said, her voice dripping with manufactured martyrdom. Get your rest. The next Saturday, I made my obligatory weekly visit. Their apartment was suffocating. The air was thick with the smell of my dad's off-brand cigarettes and something vaguely like burnt toast. The walls were covered in pictures of Becca. Becca at her prom. Becca at her graduation. Becca on a beach, laughing her hair golden in the sun. There was one small framed photo of me on the bookshelf, a picture from my paramedic academy graduation, tucked behind a porcelain angel Becca made in 3rd grade. I was a supporting character in the story of my own family. Dad was in his recliner, a heating pad draped over his lower back, watching a game show. He grunted a hello. Mom was at the small kitchen table, a pile of envelopes, and a calculator in front of her. Look at this, she said, not as a greeting, but as a command. She shoved a piece of paper in my face. It was a notice from the county court. The balance was obscene. 5 figures. The monthly payment due was more than their rent. They just don't stop, do they? She said, her hand shaking slightly. It's a shakedown. It's the sentence, Mom, I said, setting my purse down. It's a leash, Dad grumbled from his chair. A way to keep punishing us. To keep us from our daughter. I just nodded and started making coffee, my usual Saturday ritual. It was easier than talking. As I filled the pot with water, I watched my mother's eyes drift to my purse. A nice one, a designer knockoff I'd bought myself as a little "you're almost there" gift. Then her eyes flicked over to me, up and down, taking in my clean scrubs, my sturdy work boots, my newish-looking jacket. That's a nice coat, she said. Her voice was too casual. Must have cost a bit. It was on sale, I lied. Over coffee, the questions started. They were subtle at first. Little jabs disguised as chit-chat. Did you guys get that raise the union was talking about, Dad asked, not taking his eyes off the TV. It's still in negotiations, I said. Heard on the news that paramedics can make 6 figures with enough overtime, Mom added, stirring her coffee so hard it sloshed over the rim of her mug. Is that right? If you never sleep, I said, my stomach tightening. They knew. They had to know. They'd watched me work 60-hour weeks for years. They'd heard me complain about the debt. They must have been counting down the days right along with me, but for a very different reason. My finish line was their starting block. The next week, the pressure cranked up. Text from Mom in the middle of my shift, a picture of another court notice with a sad face emoji. A late-night call from Dad, his voice thick with cheap whiskey, rambling about how he saw a girl who looked just like Becca at the store, and it nearly broke his heart. I was at their place again, dropping off groceries I knew they couldn't afford when I saw it. Mom was on the couch, pretending to be asleep, but her laptop was open on the coffee table. The screen was lit up. It was my bank's homepage. She must have seen me looking at it on my phone once and memorized the name. She hadn't gotten in, of course, but she'd been trying. She was trying to see my balance. My blood ran cold. They weren't just dropping hints anymore. They were doing reconnaissance. They were calculating. My extra $1,000 a month wasn't just a fantasy about a new couch. To them, it was a line item in their budget. It was their significant progress on the Becca Fund. I left the groceries on the counter and walked out without saying a word. The silence lasted for 3 days. It was a tense, heavy, quiet that felt louder than their usual nagging. I knew they were planning something. A summit. A final appeal. On Wednesday, my last day before the direct deposit that would change everything, my phone rang. It was Dad. His voice was different. No whining, no guilt. Just a flat, serious tone I hadn't heard since before the arrest. Chloe, he said. Your mother and I need to see you tonight. Come for dinner. I'm kind of tired, Dad. "It's not a request," he said, cutting me off. The words were quiet, but they hit me like a slap. "We've been talking. We have a solution." The drive over was short, but my stomach twisted itself into a series of increasingly complicated knots. A solution. My parents didn't find solutions. They created problems and then expected me to manage the fallout. I walked up the rickety stairs to their apartment, the air already smelling like stale desperation and burnt onions. They were sitting at the kitchen table side by side, facing the door like an execution squad. My dad had put on a collared shirt and my mom had a printed out spreadsheet next to her coffee cup. This was an ambush meticulously planned. "Sit down, Chloe," my mother said, gesturing to the empty chair opposite them. I didn't. I leaned against the counter, crossing my arms. It was a small act of defiance, but it was all I had. My dad cleared his throat. "We know things have been tense." He began the words, sounding rehearsed. "And we know we've put a lot of pressure on you. So we made a plan." Mom cut in, tapping the spreadsheet. She was the numbers person. "A family plan. We've done the math. Based on your paramedic salary minus your rent, utilities, and a generous estimate for groceries and gas, and factoring in the conclusion of your student loan payments." She took a breath, her eyes glinting. "You'll have a surplus of approximately $1,050 a month, starting this Friday." I felt my blood run cold. She had calculated my life down to the dollar. "The minimum payment on our fines is $750. She continued, sliding the paper across the table towards me. "If you give us $800 a month, we can cover that and have a little left over to show the parole board we're making significant progress. In a few months, maybe 6, they'll grant the waiver for phone calls. We'll be able to hear Becca's voice again." Her voice cracked on Becca's name. It was the kill shot. The guilt bomb she'd been perfecting my entire life. My father just nodded along his face, set in grim agreement. This was it. The solution. I was the solution. My future, my breathing room, my one goddamn new couch was their ticket back to their golden girl. They looked at me, their expressions a mixture of hope and stern expectation. They weren't asking. They were informing me of my new financial obligations. I stared at the spreadsheet, at the neat little columns that laid out my life for their consumption. I thought of the extra shifts, the meals I'd skipped, the times I'd glued the sole of my boot back on because I couldn't afford a new pair. All of it leading to this moment where the fruits of my labor were being claimed like a tax. I looked up from the paper and met my mother's eyes. "No," I said. The word hung in the tiny kitchen, seeming to suck all the air out of the room. My father flinched as if I'd slapped him. My mother's face just blanked. "What?" she whispered. "No," I repeated. My voice was quiet, but it felt like the loudest sound I'd ever made. "I'm not giving you my money." "Chloe, maybe you didn't understand," Dad started. "I understood perfectly," I said, cutting him off. "You want $800 a month?" "The answer is no." My mother's face twisted from shock into a mask of pure rage. "No, just no. After everything we've done for you?" "What have you done for me?" The question was out before I could stop it. "You mean besides mortgaging your house to pay for Becca's first lawyer, or draining your retirement to pay for her second, or getting yourselves thrown in prison for her? What part of that was for me?" "We are your times, parents' times," she shrieked, slamming her hand on the table. The coffee cups jumped. "We kept a roof over your head. We fed you." "That's the bare minimum," I shot back, my own voice rising. "That's the job description. You don't get a Lifetime Achievement Award for not letting your kids starve." "This is about family," my dad said, his voice a low growl. "This is about helping your sister. Don't you have any loyalty, any heart? She is rotting in there and we can't even talk to her. Your refusal is cruel. It's selfish." "Selfish," I laughed a sharp, ugly sound. I've worked 60-hour weeks for 6 years to get out of a hole. You want me to jump right back into another one that you and Becca dug and you call times, me, time selfish. My money is mine. I earned it. I bled for it. It's just money, Chloe, Mom cried, tears of frustration streaming down her face now. It's paper. This is about our daughter, your sister. You would choose a new couch over letting me hear my baby's voice. Yes, I said. The word was cold and hard in my mouth. Yes, I would. Because it's not about the couch. It's about the fact that you see my life, my work, my entire future as nothing more than a resource for you to get back to her. I grabbed my purse from the counter. I couldn't breathe in that room anymore. You are a disappointment, my father said, his voice flat and dead. A cold, ungrateful disappointment. I didn't look back. I walked out the door, his words chasing me down the stairs. The direct deposit hit my account 2 days later. The balance was higher than I'd ever seen it. I immediately logged into the Sallie Mae site and made the final payment. $843.17. Gone. A pop-up window appeared with digital confetti. Asterisk. Congratulations, you've successfully paid off your loan. Asterisk. I felt nothing. No joy. No relief. Just a hollow ache in my chest. The silence from my parents was absolute. For 4 days, my phone didn't ring. My message notifications were silent. It was a heavy, vindictive quiet. Then on the 5th day, the text started. Not conversations. Just commands. A text from Mom Times, you need to fix this. Asterisk. The next day from Dad Times, your sister deserves better. Asterisk. Then another from Mom, a single gut-wrenching photo of Becca from her high school graduation, smiling in her cap and gown. Underneath at Times, don't you remember this girl? Asterisk. I started leaving my phone on silent. The guilt was a physical thing, a weight in my stomach that made it hard to eat. I'd be in the back of the ambulance doing chest compressions on a stranger, and my dad's voice would echo in my head. Asterisk. A cold, ungrateful disappointment. Asterisk. Were they right? Was I sacrificing my family for a few $100 extra? But then the anger would come roaring back. The image of that spreadsheet. The cold, calculated way they had portioned out my life for their own ends. They hadn't asked for help. They had levied a tax. Tonight I'm sitting on my couch, the one with the bad spring, staring at my banking app. The money is just sitting there. My money. I could book a flight. I could put a down payment on a decent car. I could do anything. But I feel paralyzed. I close the app and open a web browser. My fingers move on their own, typing into the search bar. I find a forum, a place where strangers pass judgment on the anonymous confessions of others. I start to type. Asterisk. Am I an idiot for refusing to pay my criminal parents' court fine so they can talk to my felon sister? Asterisk. I stop and look at the words on the screen. It hits me then, a realization so sharp and clear, it feels like a physical blow. They weren't asking for help to rebuild their lives. They weren't asking for money for rent or food. They wanted me to buy back their access to the child they actually valued. They didn't see me, their responsible, law-abiding paramedic daughter. They just saw a walking, talking ATM. The key to unlocking the Becca vault. And my one refusal had shown me I was never really part of the family at all. I was just the funding.
Story 2.
My brother Mark, the lawyer, once charged my parents $850 to draft their will. My mother framed the invoice. hung it right in the hallway next to my high school graduation picture. "Look at that," she'd say to anyone who'd listen. "Our son, the professional. So proud." Last Tuesday, I spent 7 hours on my hands and knees in their crawl space replacing a cracked sewer line that was turning their basement into a swamp. I had to cancel 2 high-paying jobs to do it. My payment was a cold ham sandwich and a lecture about how I should have worn older jeans. That's just how it is. Mark is the one with the degrees, the mahogany desk, the fancy title. I'm the one with the wrenches and the mud on my boots. He's a consultant. I'm free labor. It's not like I'm struggling. Patterson Plumbing and Rooter isn't just me in a van anymore. I've got a fleet of 5 trucks, a crew of 12 good guys, and a contract with half the property management companies in the city. We do 6 figures a month. I own my house. A nice one, too. The kind of house my parents always dreamed Mark would own. The irony kills me. But to them, I'm still just Bobby, the kid who was better with his hands than his books. The one who chose a trade school over a university. The success I've built doesn't register. It's not the times right kind times of success. The whole thing was a low, simmering annoyance for years. A family joke I was never in on. I just grit my teeth, fix their leaky faucet, and listen to them brag about Mark's latest big case. But then they came for my daughter, and the joke wasn't funny anymore. It happened last Sunday. My parents were over for dinner. My daughter Maya, who's 17 and has more brains and heart than my entire family combined, was telling them about her plans after graduation. Her face was lit up, full of that pure, uncut optimism only a teenager has. "I got accepted into the veterinary technician program at the community college," she announced, beaming. "I'll be able to work at the animal shelter helping with surgeries and everything. It's a 2-year certification." My wife Sarah and I were thrilled for her. Maya has wanted to work with animals since she was old enough to say doggy. My mother, however, arranged her face into a mask of polite concern. It's the same look she gets when she sees a stain on a tablecloth. "A technician," she said, drawing the word out like it tasted sour. "Oh, that's nice, dear." My dad chimed in, wiping his mouth with a napkin. "But you're so smart, Maya. Why not a veterinarian, a doctor? Think of the prestige." "I don't want to be a vet," Maya said, her smile faltering. "I like the hands-on work. The techs do so much of the direct care. That's what I love." "Don't sell yourself short," my mother cooed, reaching across the table to pat Maya's hand. "We just want you to reach your full potential. You don't want to get stuck in a job where you're just assisting someone else." Her eyes flicked to me for a fraction of a second. And there it was. The unspoken indictment. Asterisk. Don't end up like your father. Asterisk. The guy who assists people with their toilets. The guy with the dirty hands and the wrong kind of success. I saw Maya's shoulders slump. I saw that beautiful light in her eyes dim, replaced by the flicker of doubt they'd just planted there. A hot metallic rage flooded my chest. I wanted to flip the table. I wanted to scream. I wanted to lay out my profit and loss statements next to the pot roast and force them to see what a stuck man's life actually looks like. But I didn't. I just looked at my daughter's face at the damage they'd done in 30 seconds, and I made a promise to myself that this was the last time. The absolute last time they would treat my family, my profession, or my life as second class. The universe, it seems, has a twisted sense of timing. 4 days later, the storm hit. They called it a 100-year flood. The sky fell out. Rivers crested, sewers backed up, and basements all over the city turned into murky swimming pools. For a plumber, it was both a nightmare and a gold rush. My phone started ringing at 3 a.m. and didn't stop. By noon, I was running on pure adrenaline and 4 cups of coffee. Every one of my guys was out on a call, and the dispatch board was still lit up like a Christmas tree. I was in my truck heading to an elderly woman's house where the main line had backed up into her bathtub when my personal cell rang. The screen flashed, "Mom." I knew before I answered. Bobby, thank God. She shrieked, the panic in her voice so thick I could barely understand her. The basement, it's a disaster. The sump pump failed, there's at least a foot of water, and it's rising. You have to come right now. I took a deep breath, picturing the chaos on her end. Okay, calm down, Mom. I'm on an emergency call right now, but I can put you on the list. I might be able to get there in, say, 3 or 4 hours. Silence. Then a cold fury. Asterisk. 4 hours times. Are you joking, Bobby? The water is ruining everything. Your father's workshop is down there. This is your family. I know, I said, my voice tight. And I have about 50 other families in the same boat. Some have it worse. I'm handling a sewage backup right now. I have to prioritize. Prioritize, my father's voice boomed from the background. He must have snatched the phone. What is there to prioritize over your own parents? Your brother would never ever treat us this way. When we had that tax issue, Mark dropped everything. He was at our house in an hour. He makes time for family. The hypocrisy was so stunning, so pure, it almost knocked the wind out of me. Mark, the guy who charged them nearly $1,000 for 2 hours of work. The comparison coming just days after they'd implied my daughter should be more like him and less like me was the final straw. The camel's back didn't just break. It atomized. Mark is a lawyer, Dad. This is plumbing. You can't compare. The hell I can't, he roared. We need you. Stop being a selfish jerk and get over here. I pulled my truck over to the side of the flooded street. The rain hammered against my windshield, a frantic drumbeat against the sudden chilling silence in my head. They didn't see a business owner. They didn't see a professional. They didn't even see a son. They saw a tool. A free service they were entitled to. You know what, Dad? I said, my voice dangerously quiet. You're right. It's time I started acting like a professional. I hung up the phone. The rain kept coming down. My work phone buzzed again, another desperate customer. I ignored it. I stared at my personal phone at the contact picture of my smiling parents. A strange calm washed over me. The anger was gone, replaced by a cold, hard clarity. They wanted a professional. They wanted me to be more like Mark. Fine. I opened my company's dispatch app and created a new work order. Customer, Frank Patterson. Address, my childhood home. I keyed in the details for an emergency sump pump replacement and sewage overflow mitigation. Then, I dialed my mother's number. She picked up on the first ring. Bobby, are you on your way? Patterson Plumbing, this is Bobby, I said, my voice flat, and even the one I use for difficult clients. I reviewed a request. Due to the citywide state of emergency, we are only accepting priority jobs. All emergency calls are subject to a fee of $450 per hour with a 3-hour minimum payable in advance. Parts are extra. The silence on the other end was so complete I thought the call had dropped. Bobby, what on earth are you talking about? She finally whispered. That's the standard rate, Mom. But for you, I can offer our friends and family discount. That brings it down to $300 an hour. $900 plus the cost of a new pump. I can take a credit card over the phone and I'll be there in 45 minutes. You want to charge us, my father yelled, his voice a distorted roar. You're going to charge your own parents $900. Yes, I said. The word felt solid. It felt real. That's the price for a professional to drop everything and come fix your emergency. You wanted me to be more like Mark. Well, Mark sends you a bill. This is my bill. I heard my mother start to cry. I don't understand why you're being so cruel. It's not cruel, Mom. It's business. It's the business that pays my mortgage. It's the business that's going to pay for Maya to become a vet tech, a job you seem to think isn't good enough. The shot landed. Dead air. So do you have a Visa or a MasterCard? I asked. This is extortion, my father bellowed. No, Dad. This is plumbing. You're welcome to call someone else. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but not from anger. It was the terrifying thrill of a locked door finally being kicked off its hinges. I drove to the elderly woman's house and got to work. 30 minutes in, my phone buzzed. It was a text from my dad. A picture of my mother's credit card front and back. I processed the payment right there on my phone, sent them a receipt via email, and packed up my tools. When I pulled up to their house, the scene was exactly as I'd pictured. Water lapping at the basement windows. My dad was standing on the porch, arms crossed, faced like a thundercloud. He didn't say a word as I walked past him with my toolbox and a brand new top-of-the-line sump pump. My mother was in the kitchen wiping her eyes. She looked at me, her expression a mix of betrayal and desperation. "The basement stairs are this way," she said, her voice brittle. I didn't offer a hug. I didn't say a comforting word. I was their contractor. For the next 2 hours, I worked. I waded through the murky, knee-deep water, the stench of mildew and wet cardboard thick in the air. I ripped out the old dead pump, my hands moving with an efficiency born of 20 years of practice. I installed the new one, replumbed the discharge line to handle the immense pressure, and snaked the main drain to make sure there were no blockages from the overwhelmed city sewer. I was fast, clean, and professional. I was worth every damn penny. When the new pump kicked in with a powerful hum, the sound was more satisfying than a standing ovation. The water level immediately began to drop. I packed my tools in silence. Back upstairs, I washed my hands at the kitchen sink. My parents were sitting at the table watching me. "It's done," I said, drying my hands on a paper towel. "The new pump has a 5-year warranty. My office will email you the final invoice including the cost of the pump. It'll show the credit you've already paid." My dad just stared at me. "So that's it. You just take our money and leave." "That's usually how it works." "Yes." I turned and walked out the door. I didn't look back. The cold shoulder lasted a week. A week of silence. I knew they were stewing. I knew the final invoice, which came to $1,328.54, had probably been printed out and dissected a dozen times. On Saturday morning, my mother called. "Your father and I would like you to come over," she said. No greeting, her voice was stiff, formal. "We need to talk." "I'm busy," I said. "Robert." I sighed. "Fine. I'll be there in an hour." When I walked in, they were waiting for me in the living room. On the coffee table next to a framed photo of Mark in his graduation gown was my invoice. It was like an exhibit in a trial. "We want to understand this," my dad began, tapping a thick finger on the paper. "We want to understand why you felt it was necessary to treat us like strangers." I looked from the invoice to their faces, set in identical masks of wounded pride. The anger I'd felt in the truck was gone, replaced by a weary resolve. "I treated you like customers," I corrected him. "Because for years you've treated me like free labor. You hang Mark's bill on the wall like a trophy, but you expect me to crawl through your sewage on a Tuesday for a ham sandwich." "That's different," my mother cut in. "He's a lawyer. His work is intellectual. And my work is what I shot back." "What is it, Mom?" "Just a guy with a wrench. Do you have any idea what it takes to run my company? The payroll I have to make? The insurance I carry? The knowledge it takes to walk into a disaster like your basement and make it right in 2 hours?" I leaned forward, my voice dropping. "My hands might get dirty. My jeans might get torn. But the business I built from scratch with these hands is every bit as successful as Mark's law practice. In fact, it's more successful. But you can't see that. You just see the plumber." I looked at my dad. "You said Mark always makes time for you. You paid him $850 to make time. I made time for you too. The only difference is I finally charged for it. Tears welled in my mother's eyes again. But what you said about Maya, that was cruel, Bobby. To bring your daughter into it. You brought her into it, I said, my voice hardening. You brought her into it when you sat at my dinner table and told my brilliant, happy daughter that her dream wasn't good enough. When you told her not to get stuck, assisting someone. You were talking about me. You told my child not to become me. I stood up. The room felt small, suffocating. So yeah, I sent you a bill. I wanted you to see in black and white what the work you've always taken for free is actually worth. I am a professional. I am a successful businessman. Just like my brother. And from now on, you will treat me like one. I walked to the front hall. As I passed the framed invoice from Mark, I paused. I took my own invoice from the coffee table, folded it neatly, and tucked it into the side of the frame right next to his. 2 bills side by side. One for a will, the other for saving a house. They could look at them both and decide for themselves which one held more value.
Story 3.
The text from my sister Chloe was like a notification from a ghost. We hadn't really spoken, not in a real way, in almost 3 years. Our relationship existed in the form of obligatory holiday texts and the occasional awkward wave across a parking lot if we happened to be visiting our parents at the same time. Asterisk. You're invited to our engagement party times, the text read, followed by a link to a pastel-colored Evite. My first thought was, times, she invited me, times. My second was, times, why asterisk. Growing up, I was the golden child. I didn't ask for the title, and I sure as hell didn't want it. It just happened. I got good grades without seeming to try. I was good at sports. Teachers liked me. It was effortless, which according to Chloe was the most offensive part. She had to fight for every A, every bit of praise, while I just coasted. Our parents never said it, not in so many words, but the dynamic was baked into the foundation of our family. I was the easy one. She was the difficult one. Resentment was the air she breathed, and I was the one polluting it. So yeah, an invitation to her engagement party felt less like an olive branch and more like a trap. But I went. I put on a clean shirt, bought a ridiculously overpriced bottle of wine, and drove to a bar that was way too cool for me. The place was packed with her fiancé Mark's friends, guys in crisp shirts with perfect hair. Chloe was holding court, a champagne flute in her hand, looking happier than I'd ever seen her. When she saw me, her smile tightened for a fraction of a second before stretching back into place. "Leo, you came," she said, her voice a little too loud. She gave me a one-armed hug that was mostly air. Wouldn't miss it. Congrats, Chloe. We stood in silence for a beat too long. "Well, mingle," she said, gesturing vaguely at the crowd before turning back to her friends. I was contemplating making a break for the door when a voice cut through the noise. "You look as lost as I feel." I turned. A guy about my age was leaning against the wall nursing a beer. He had the same dark hair and easy smile as Mark, but his posture was looser, his eyes more amused. "Is it that obvious?" I asked. "Only to someone who also spent 20 minutes hiding in the bathroom scrolling through Reddit," he said with a grin. "I'm Alex. Mark's younger and infinitely more charming brother." I laughed. A real laugh. Leo. Chloe's younger and apparently much less social brother. We spent the rest of the night tucked away in a corner talking. It was easy. Frighteningly easy. We talked about terrible sci-fi movies, our shared hatred for cilantro, the soul-crushing despair of working in entry-level corporate jobs. It felt like I'd known him for years. As I was leaving, he grabbed my arm. "Hey, I'm serious about that terrible movie marathon," he said. "Give me your number." I did. And that was the beginning. Over the next year, Alex became my best friend. We went on hiking trips where we mostly just complained about the incline. We spent whole weekends playing video games and ordering pizza. He was the first person I called when I got a promotion, the one who sat with me in the vet's office when my dog got sick. We just fit. The friendship was the most natural, uncomplicated relationship I'd ever had. The lines started blurring so gradually I didn't even notice until they were gone. One night we were on my couch watching another terrible movie. He was laughing at something dumb I'd said, and the sound hit me differently. It wasn't just a friend's laugh anymore. I looked at him, really looked at him, and the thought slammed into me with the force of a car crash times. Oh, I'm in love with him. Asterisk. A week later, I told him. He just looked at me for a long moment, then leaned in and kissed me. Took you long enough? He whispered. We made it official. Just like that. It was perfect except for one tiny detail. Chloe and Mark's wedding was exactly 1 month away. We have to tell them, Alex said a few days later. Starting with my parents. Then Chloe and Mark. I felt a knot of dread tighten in my stomach. Alex's parents, Sarah and David, were Chloe's future in-laws. They were, by all of Chloe's accounts, a tough crowd. She'd spent the last year trying to win them over, describing dinners where she felt like she was being grilled for a job interview. She complained that Sarah was polite but distant, that David only ever wanted to talk to Mark about work. My expectations were rock bottom when Alex drove me to their house for Sunday dinner. I braced myself for a polite, chilly interrogation. Instead, I got warmth. Sarah threw the door open before we even knocked, pulling me into a hug. Leo, we are so thrilled to finally meet you properly. Alex hasn't shut up about you for a year. David shook my hand firmly, a genuine smile on his face. Any guy who can convince Alex to go hiking is a miracle worker in our book. Come in, come in. Dinner wasn't an interview. It was a welcome. They asked about my job, my dog, my family. Sarah laughed at my stupid jokes. David and I got into a deep, nerdy conversation about old vinyl records. When Alex reached for my hand across the table, Sarah just smiled at us, her eyes shining. It's just so wonderful to see him this happy, Leo, she said, her voice soft. Thank you. I felt like I could fly. I was being welcomed into a family, no questions asked, no test to pass. It was everything I didn't know I was missing. The next day, still buzzing, I called Chloe. Hey, I said, when she picked up. We need to talk. It's about me and Alex. There was a dead silence on the other end. Chloe. What about you and Alex? She asked, her voice flat and cold. We're together, I said, the words tumbling out. We're a couple. And I just had dinner with his parents, and they were amazing. So nice. Another long pause. Then a short, bitter laugh. Of course they were, she said, the words dripping with something I couldn't quite place. Of course they were nice to times, you asterisk. The comment was weird, unsettling, but I was too caught up in my own happiness to fully process it. My mind immediately went to problem-solving mode, the role I'd always played. Asterisk. She's just stressed about the wedding. She's had a hard time with him. Maybe I can help. Asterisk. The idea felt brilliant, a way for us to finally connect. I could bridge this gap. We could bond over them, our shared new family. Listen, I know you said they can be a little tough. I started my voice full of a naive, stupid optimism. But I think I cracked the code. You'll never guess what Sarah and I were talking about. Her favorite Tyler is Octavia Butler. We talked about times, kindred times, for like 20 minutes. She said you'd never mentioned you read her. The silence on the other end of the line was heavy, suffocating. It wasn't an empty silence. It was full of something ugly. Chloe. You have to be kidding me, she finally whispered, her voice dangerously low. What I was just saying. Stop, she cut me off. Just stop. Do you hear yourself? Do you have any idea how you sound right now? The warmth from my perfect evening began to curdle in my stomach. I don't know what you're talking about. Of course you don't, she spat, and the bitterness I'd heard earlier came back, now amplified a tidal wave of it. You never do. It's always so times easy. Times for you, Leo. You just float through life and everything falls into your lap. Perfect grades are parents' adoration, and now this. You couldn't just let me have this one thing, could you? My head was spinning. Have what? What are you talking about? I'm happy, Chloe. I thought you'd be happy for me. A laugh, sharp and broken, cracked through the phone. Happy you waltz in, meet my future husband's brother, and decide to start dating him month times before my wedding. Of all the people in the world, Leo, you had to pick him. It wasn't a decision like that. It just happened. We're in love. The words felt defensive and weak, even to my own ears. Oh, you're in love, she mocked. How convenient. You finally come back into my life just in time to steal my new family. I have spent year times, trying to get Sarah and David to like me. Every dinner is a test. Every conversation is a minefield. And you go there one time and you're talking about your favorite books. You're the golden child, Leo. You always have been. You're our family's golden child, and now you're going to be theirs too. Every word was a punch. I was breathless, leaning against my kitchen counter for support. That is not what's happening. That's insane. Is it? She shot back, her voice rising to a shout. Is it insane, or is it the same pattern that's been playing out our entire lives? You get praised for breathing while I have to claw my way to get a single ounce of approval. You didn't just meet Alex and fall for him. You saw an opportunity. You saw another stage where you could be the star and I could be the fucking understudy. You think I'm dating Alex to upstage you, I asked, my own voice shaking with a mix of anger and disbelief. I think you don't even have to try, she said, her voice cracking with a pain so deep it momentarily stunned me into silence. It's your factory setting. To win. To be the favorite. You just couldn't stand it, could you? Me having this perfect new family that wasn't obsessed with you. You had to insert yourself. You had to make sure you were their favorite brother-in-law before I even had a chance to be their daughter-in-law. Chloe, that's not fair. That's not true. Goodbye, Leo. The line went dead. I stood there for a long time, the phone still pressed to my ear, listening to the dial tone. My heart was hammering against my ribs. The walls of my apartment felt like they were closing in. Her words echoed in my head, twisting my happiness into something ugly and calculated. Asterisk. You saw an opportunity. Asterisk. Asterisk. You had to steal my new family. Asterisk. My first instinct was pure white-hot rage. How dare she? How dare she take this beautiful, simple thing with Alex and paint it as some malicious, lifelong plot against her? I paced my living room, the phone now clutched in a white-knuckled grip. I could call Sarah. I could call her right now and tell her everything. Asterisk. Just so you know, your future daughter-in-law thinks you're cold and judgmental. She sees your family as a prize to be won, and she's furious that I won it first. Asterisk. The thought was intoxicating. It was a perfect swift revenge. I could burn it all down. I pictured Sarah's kind face, her warm smile turning confused, then hurt. I imagined the awkwardness, the tension that would poison every family gathering from now until forever. I would prove Chloe right. I would become the person she accused me of being, the one who wins no matter the cost. I dropped the phone onto the couch as if it were on fire. I couldn't do it. I couldn't be that person. But the doubt was a poison seeping into the cracks of my certainty. Had I, on some subconscious level, been drawn to Alex because he was connected to her? Was this my way of finally getting back into my sister's orbit? Even if it was through a collision, I replayed the last year in my mind. The easy friendship. The slow burn of falling in love. It had all felt so real, so separate from my fractured history with Chloe. But was it? Her accusations had reframed my entire reality. The pure joy I'd felt at dinner with Sarah and David now felt tainted like a stolen treasure. I collapsed onto the sofa, my head in my hands. The anger was gone, replaced by a hollow confusion. I didn't know what was real anymore. I didn't know if my best intentions were just a mask for some deep-seated competitive rot I didn't even know I had. I couldn't trust my own motives. I needed someone else. I needed an outside eye to look at the wreckage and tell me if I was the one holding the bomb. My fingers found my phone. I hesitated for only a second before I pulled up his contact. Alex picked up on the second ring. "Hey, you," he said, his voice warm and happy. It was a stark contrast to the venom I'd just endured. "I was just thinking about you. My mom already texted me twice saying how much she loved you." I couldn't speak. A lump was forming in my throat. "Leo, you there?" "Yeah," I finally croaked. "Yeah, I'm here." "You okay? You sound weird." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady. "I just talked to Chloe." "Oh," Alex said. The single word was loaded. He knew how she and I were. How'd she take it? I let out a short, humorless laugh. Not well. Define not well. I scrubbed a hand over my face, trying to find the right words. She thinks I did this on purpose. Dating you. That it's part of some lifelong competition. She called me the golden child and accused me of stealing you to get to her in-laws. There was silence on his end. Not a heavy, angry silence like Chloe's, but a thoughtful one. I held my breath, waiting for his judgment. "Well," he said slowly, "she's not wrong about the golden child part." My stomach dropped. "What?" "From the little Mark's told me and what I've seen, she's always felt like she's in your shadow. That part at least is real to her. The rest of it, the part where you're some evil mastermind who targeted me to ruin her wedding month, that's bullshit, Leo." I exhaled a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. "You didn't do anything wrong," he continued, his voice firm, leaving no room for argument. "We fell in love. It's bad timing and it's complicated as hell, but it's not malicious. Her baggage is hers to carry. It's not your fault she hasn't figured out how to put it down yet." His words were a lifeline. They didn't erase Chloe's accusations, but they anchored me. They gave me a piece of solid ground to stand on in the middle of the earthquake she'd created. "So what do I do now?" I asked, my voice small. "For now, nothing," Alex said. "We do nothing. We go to this wedding, we smile, and we don't give her any more ammunition. We just be happy." It sounded so simple. And so incredibly difficult.
Story 4.
The smell of garlic bread filled my tiny apartment, a peace offering to the gods of co-parenting. My daughter Maya meticulously placed the third set of silverware next to the third plate. Her tongue stuck out from the corner of her mouth in concentration, a habit she's had since she was a toddler. At 10, she was all lanky limbs and bubbling fragile hope. "Do you think he'll like the pepperoni with pineapple?" she asked, adjusting a fork by a millimeter. "You said it's his favorite." "It times was times his favorite," I corrected, gently pulling the pizza from the oven. "People's taste can change, Bug. But I'm sure he'll love it." It had been 8 years. 8 years of silence, missed birthdays, and me duct taping our lives together. Then 3 months ago, Alex had reappeared, full of apologies and sporting a new serious girlfriend named Chloe. He wanted to be a father now. Our therapist doctor. Evans, a woman with unnervingly calm eyes, had mapped out a slow, cautious path to reunification. We'd done parks. We'd done ice cream. All short, supervised public meetings. Tonight was the big one. Level 4 Dr. Evans called it. Dinner at my place. A casual, low-pressure evening to show Maya we could exist in the same room, a family-shaped mirage. It's 5:55, Mom Maya announced, bouncing on the balls of her feet. 5 minutes. I forced a smile. I see that. My own stomach was a knot of acid and anxiety. I trusted Alex about as far as I could throw him, but I was doing this for her. For the hopeful shine in her eyes that I hadn't seen in years. The clock on the microwave clicked over to 6:00. Then 6:01. Maya's bouncing slowed. She stationed herself on the arm of the couch, peering out the window that overlooked the parking lot. Maybe there's traffic, she said, more to herself than to me. Probably, I agreed, busying myself by arranging the salad in a bowl that was way too fancy for a Tuesday night. My phone lying face up on the counter remained dark. At 6:15, Maya's posture had deflated. He has my new number, right? You gave it to him. Of course I did, sweetie. At 6:28, I couldn't stand the silence anymore. My thumbs hovered over the screen. The old Melissa would have called. Then called again. Then texted a frantic novel of question marks. The new Melissa, the one who'd spent 2 years and a small fortune in therapy learning about boundaries, typed out a single sterile sentence. Asterisk, me. Hey, dinner's ready. Are you close, asterisk? I hit send and put the phone back down face down this time. I watched pot never boils, and a watched phone never pings. Mom, I'm hungry, Maya whined at 6:45. Her hope was visibly curdling into disappointment. She'd abandoned her post at the window and was now slumped on the couch, flicking through channels with a dull look on her face. Okay, Bug, I said, my voice unnaturally bright. Let's eat. He's probably just running super late. We can save him a few slices. We sat at the table, the third place, setting a gaping hole between us. Maya picked the pineapple off her pizza and lined the pieces up on the side of her plate. We ate in a silence that felt louder than any argument. I tried to talk about school, about her friends, about the dumb reality show she liked, but her answers were clipped one-word responses. Her gaze kept drifting to the empty chair. At 7:30, it was clear. He wasn't running late. He wasn't stuck in traffic. He was a no-show. Can we just watch the movie? She mumbled, pushing her half-eaten slice away. Yeah, of course. We curled up on the couch, a bowl of popcorn between us that neither of us touched. It was some animated thing about a magical quest, but I couldn't follow it. All I could feel was the familiar hot sting of anger building behind my ribs. Anger at him for doing this, and anger at myself for believing, even for a second, that he wouldn't. That he had somehow miraculously changed. Maya was asleep before the credits rolled, her head heavy in my lap. Her face, usually so animated, was slack with sadness, even in sleep. I gently nudged her awake. Come on, Bug. Let's get you to bed. She stumbled down the hall, half asleep. I tucked her under her unicorn-themed comforter and sat on the edge of her bed, stroking her hair. Her eyes fluttered open, glassy and sad. He wasn't just late, was he, Mom? The question hit me like a punch to the gut. The lie died on my lips. I couldn't offer her another flimsy excuse. She was too old for that, and she deserved better. No, baby, I whispered, my throat tight. He wasn't. She just nodded, a single tear rolling down her temple and into her hair. She turned over, facing the wall, and I knew the conversation was over. I walked back into the living room, the lingering smell of garlic and shattered hope hanging in the air. On the table, his plate sat pristine and empty. An untouched can of Coke beaded with condensation next to it. A perfect little shrine to a broken promise. I methodically cleared the table, scraping Maya's pineapple bits into the trash. I rinsed the dishes and put them in the dishwasher with sharp, angry movements. I wiped down the counter, scrubbing at a spot that wasn't there. I did everything I could to avoid looking at my phone. It sat on the counter, a black mirror reflecting the ceiling lights, utterly and completely silent. It was 9 p.m. Then 10. The silence was his answer. It always was. My anger cooled into a familiar, heavy exhaustion. It was the same exhaustion I felt when I was 28 months pregnant and waiting for him to come home from a quick drink with the guys. The same exhaustion I felt when Maya was a newborn screaming with colic and his side of the bed was cold. I sank onto the couch, pulling an Afghan over my legs. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. There was nothing left to do. The damage was done. All I could do now was sit in the wreckage and wait for morning, so I could start putting the pieces of my daughter's heart back together. Again. My phone screen lit up the dark room. My heart hammered against my ribs. A stupid reflexive jolt of hope I couldn't kill. I snatched it off the counter. The screen read times Alex, asterisk. The time was 11:32 p.m. I stared at his name on the screen, a ghost from a life I thought I'd buried. My thumb hovered over the green icon, then the red. I let it ring 3 times before answering, just to prove to myself that I could. Hello, Alex. My voice was flat, devoid of the fury or tears he probably expected. Mel, oh my God, I am so sorry. He sounded breathless, panicked. The performance had begun. Work was insane. My phone died. I just walked in the door. It's almost midnight, Alex. I know. Chloe just got home from her shift. She asked how dinner with Maya went, and my heart just dropped. Why didn't you call me? You should have called. The accusation landed like a spark on dry tinder. The exhaustion I'd been drowning in evaporated, replaced by a white-hot, diamond-hard clarity. Excuse me, I said, my voice dangerously quiet. A text I saw. You sent one text. You know what I'm like, Mel. You know I get buried in work. You should have called me. I would have dropped everything. I almost laughed. It was the same script, the same tired excuses he'd used for years. Only the audience had changed. No, I said. The word was a stone, small and heavy. I'm not doing that anymore. What are you talking about? I missed seeing my daughter because you were too proud to pick up the phone. I am not your keeper, Alex, I said, and the words felt like they were coming from a version of myself I'd been waiting to meet. I am not your personal assistant or your alarm clock. I chased you down for 9 months while I was pregnant with your child. I begged you to come to appointments. I reminded you to be a human being. I am done. Being a father is your responsibility. Showing up is your time's job, not mine to manage. There was a stunned silence on the other end of the line. Then his voice came back laced with venom. You're doing this on purpose. You've always wanted to make me look like the bad guy. You don't need my help for that, I shot back. Maya set the table for you. She picked out a pizza she thought you'd like. She waited by the window for almost an hour before she gave up. Then she went to bed crying. So, you can stop this whole panic dad act. We both know you're not upset because you hurt her. You're upset because you got caught. He hung up. I didn't throw the phone. I didn't scream. I just placed it back on the counter, the silence in the apartment feeling less like an absence and more like a relief. The next morning, I called Dr. Evans while I sipped my coffee. I recounted the conversation, my voice shaking slightly as I second-guessed myself. Was I too harsh? Should I have just called him for Maya's sake? Absolutely not, Melissa, Dr. Evans said, her voice a calm anchor. You held a boundary, a perfectly reasonable one. His reaction is about his own failure, not yours. You are his co-parent, not his probation officer. He is a grown man. Let him act like one. I felt a wave of validation wash over me. I did the right thing. Then I made the mistake of calling my mother. Oh, honey, she sighed after I told her the story. You know how he is. He's always been so scattered. Why make things harder? One little phone call would have saved Maya all that sadness. Mom, that's the whole point, I argued, my frustration mounting. He needs to be able to do it on his own. It's the bare minimum. The bare minimum isn't always what's best for the child, she said, her voice dripping with well-meaning, infuriating pity. Sometimes you just have to swallow your pride and be the bigger person. I hung up, feeling like I had emotional whiplash. My hard-won clarity was dissolving into a puddle of self-doubt. Was I just being stubborn? Was my pride more important than Maya's happiness? I was spiraling, replaying every conversation when my phone buzzed with a text. It was Alex. My stomach clenched. Maybe it was an apology. Maybe he'd slept on it and realized... Alex, Chloe's really upset. She thought we were past all this drama. She thinks you're trying to sabotage things between us. You need to fix this. I read the message once. Then twice. My vision narrowed until the words blurred into meaningless shapes. You need to fix this. And just like that, the fog of doubt vanished. It was never about Maya. He hadn't asked how she was this morning. He hadn't mentioned wanting to speak to her or apologize to her or make it up to her. His entire meltdown wasn't about missing a precious level 4 milestone with the daughter he'd ignored for 8 years. It was about the fact that his carefully constructed facade of the reformed doting dad had cracked and his new girlfriend had seen the monster underneath. My one and only job in this new arrangement, I realized, wasn't to co-parent. It was to be his accomplice. To cover his tracks. To text and call and nag and remind him to perform the part he'd auditioned for. And I had refused to play along. A slow, cold smile spread across my face. I looked at his pathetic, blame-shifting text one last time. I saw him for exactly what he was, a child in a man's body, terrified of his girlfriend, thinking he was anything less than perfect. My revenge wouldn't be a screaming match or a scathing reply. It wouldn't be telling Chloe the whole sordid history. It was the quiet, simple act of my thumb pressing down on the screen. Delita? I would not fix this for him. I would let him stand in the rubble of the mess he made all by himself, and I would go wake up my daughter and make her pancakes, just the two of us.
Story 5.
8 years is a long time. It's long enough to build a life, a home. It's long enough to forget who you were before you met someone. Jay and I were just shy of that milestone a couple of weeks from our 8th anniversary. For most of that time, she was my rock. I wasn't an easy guy to be with in the beginning. I had my demons. Booze, mostly. Weed, too. A nasty cocktail of anxiety and depression that I tried to drown every single day. Jay saw me through the worst of it. She held my hand through withdrawals and sat with me in silence when the world was too loud. And I got better. I got sober. I went to therapy, got on the right meds, and clawed my way back to the man I was supposed to be. I got a good job, a promotion. I was stable. I was present. I was finally the partner she deserved. Or so I thought. The cracks started small. Her job was the first one. She worked the night shift, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. For years, I begged her to switch. I miss sleeping next to you, I'd say. I just want to have a normal life with you. She always had an excuse. The pay differential is too good, Wayne. Or, I can't leave my team, they need me. We went to bed at different times, woke up at different times. Our days off rarely aligned. We were roommates who occasionally shared a bank account. Then there was the sex. Or the lack of it. It had been 6 months. 6 fucking months. Every time I tried to initiate, I'd get the hand on the chest. I'm too tired. I have a headache. I just want to sleep. It felt like I was begging for scraps of intimacy from my own girlfriend. Each rejection was a small cut, and after a while, I was bleeding out. The worst part, the thing that really twisted the knife, was how she'd use my past against me. If I brought up an issue, if I expressed that I was unhappy, her go-to move was to question my sanity. I feel like we're drifting apart, Jay. Is this your anxiety talking again? You know, you tend to overthink things. It was brilliant in a sick way. She took the biggest struggle of my life, the one she supposedly helped me overcome, and turned it into a weapon. She made me question if the problems were real or just a phantom limb from my old life. About a month ago, I decided I couldn't take it anymore. I sat her down on a rare afternoon we had together. I didn't raise my voice. I just laid it all out. Jay, this isn't working, I said, my voice steady. The schedules, the lack of intimacy, the way you dismiss my feelings. I feel completely alone in this relationship. She just stared at me, her face a blank wall. No tears. No anger. Nothing. I don't know what you want me to say, she finally said, shrugging. I want you to talk to me. Tell me what's wrong. Tell me if you still want to be here. I'm here, aren't I? And that was it. The conversation was over. She got up, put on her headphones, and started cleaning the kitchen. Stonewalled. The silence in our apartment for the next few weeks was deafening. We coexisted, two ghosts haunting a life we'd built together. Then came Memorial Day weekend. She was suddenly cheerful, suggesting we go to a family friend's barbecue on Saturday. It'll be fun, she said. We need to get out of the house. I didn't want to go. I wanted to stay home and figure out how to detonate our lives with the least amount of collateral damage. But I was tired of fighting. Fine, I said. But we're going together and we're coming home together. No splitting up. Of course, she promised, kissing my cheek. It was the most affection she'd shown me in a month. The barbecue was fine. We played the part. Smiled, laughed, talked about our plans for the summer as if we had any. Around 9, I was ready to go. I found her talking with a group of her girlfriends. Hey, you about ready? I asked. She looked at her phone, then at her friends. A silent conversation passed between them. Actually, she said, not looking me in the eye, Amber and Chloe want to go get a drink at the saloon. I'm just going to go for a little bit. I'll meet you at home. My jaw tightened. Jay. We talked about this. You promised. Oh, relax, she said, waving a dismissive hand. It's one drink. I'll be home in an hour tops. Don't be controlling. Controlling. Another one of her favorite words. My old therapist would have called it projection. I just called it bullshit. Fine, I clipped out. I wasn't going to make a scene. I said my goodbyes and drove home alone, the driver's seat feeling bigger than usual. I got home, let the dogs out, and put on a movie, assuming she'd be home soon. I must have fallen asleep on the couch because I woke up with a jolt. The TV was off. The house was dead quiet. My phone screen glowed. 2:17 a.m. She wasn't home. A cold dread washed over me. I checked my phone. No texts. No missed calls. I opened the Find My app, a thing we'd set up years ago for safety. Her icon was there, but the location was stuck. Location not available. My heart started hammering against my ribs. It had never done that before. I told myself it was a glitch, a network error. But my gut, that sober, clear-headed gut I'd learned to trust, was screaming at me that something was wrong. I called her. It rang 4 times, then went to voicemail. I called again. This time she picked up. Hello. Her voice was wide awake, a little too bright. Music thumped faintly in the background. Jay, where are you? It's after 2. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I totally lost track of time, she said, the words slightly slurred. We left the bar and went back to Sarah's house. We were just talking. Sarah. her parents' best friend. A woman in her late 50s. A safe answer. Plausible. It almost made sense. Sarah's, I asked, the knot in my stomach loosening just a fraction. Why didn't you text me? My phone died. It just turned back on. I'm so sorry, babe. I'll be home in a little bit, I promise. Okay, I said slowly. Just get home safe. We hung up. I sat there in the dark staring at my phone. I didn't believe her. Not a single word. I kept refreshing the Find My app, my thumb swiping down again and again. Nothing. Location not available. Location not available. Then it loaded. A single blue dot pulsed on the screen. It wasn't anywhere near Sarah's neighborhood on the north side of town. It was 10 miles south in a residential area I'd never seen before, on a street I didn't recognize. My breath hitched. My vision tunneled. It was a physical blow, like all the air had been punched out of my lungs. My thumb hovered over her name. My hands were shaking. I hit the call button. She answered on the first ring, her voice still sickeningly cheerful. Hey, is everything okay? Where are you, Jay? My voice was dangerously calm. I told you I'm at Sarah's. We're just hanging out. No, you're not, I said, the words coming out like ice chips. Your phone says you're at an apartment building on Oak Street. So I'm going to ask you one more time. Where the hell are you? The line went dead quiet. I could hear her breathing, the faint music in the background suddenly cut off. The silence stretched for an eternity. Finally, her voice came back smaller, stripped of all its fake cheer. I'm on my way home. She hung up. I sat on the couch in the pitch-black living room, my phone clutched in my hand. I didn't move. I just stared at the front door, watching her blue dot crawl across the map of the city, getting closer and closer. 30 minutes felt like a lifetime. Each minute was a new circle of hell. Then I heard it. The crunch of tires on the gravel driveway. A car door slamming shut. And finally, the faint jingle of keys at the front door. The lock turned. The door swung open. She stepped inside, shutting the door softly behind her. The click of the deadbolt echoed in the silence. She flicked on the hall light and her eyes landed on me, a silhouette on the couch. She flinched. Jesus, Wayne. You scared me. What are you doing sitting in the dark? I didn't move. You lied to me. She sighed, dropping her keys and purse on the kitchen counter. It was the sigh of a woman burdened by an overbearing partner. A performance. I didn't lie. I told you I was at Sarah's, and then I came home. It's a 10-minute drive from Sarah's house, I said, my voice flat, devoid of all emotion. It took you 35 minutes to get here. Because you weren't at Sarah's. You were on Oak Street. She turned, her face hardening. What are you talking about? Are you tracking me now? That's psychotic. It's called Find My J. We've had it for 6 years. Don't act like this is new. I stood up, my joints cracking. I felt 100 years old. You lied. Just tell me why. I didn't lie, she snapped, her voice rising. Maybe the app was wrong. You're going to trust some stupid app over me, your girlfriend of 8 years. This was her arena. Gaslighting. Making me the crazy one. The old me would have buckled, apologized, and questioned my own sanity. But the old me was dead and buried. You're right, I said calmly. Let's clear it up. Show me your Uber receipt. It'll have the pickup address. Show me it was Sarah's, and I will get on my knees and apologize for ever doubting you. Panic flickered in her eyes. Just a split second, but I saw it. I'm not showing you anything. This is insane. You're interrogating me in my own home at 3 a.m. Show me the phone, Jay. She clutched her purse to her chest. No? That was all I needed. I crossed the room in 2 strides. I didn't yell. I didn't shove. I just gently took the purse from her hands, opened it, and pulled out her phone. She reached for it, but I turned my back, holding it out of her grasp. Wayne, give me my phone. You're acting crazy. Her lock screen lit up with a notification. A text message. Not from Amber or Chloe. From a name I didn't recognize. Asterisk, Chris, you get home. Okay, tonight was amazing. Asterisk. My blood ran cold. My fingers felt clumsy as I unlocked her phone, our anniversary date. The irony was a gut punch, and tapped on the Uber app. There it was. The trip history. Picked up at 2:51 a.m. The address wasn't Sarah's. It was the exact same house on Oak Street that her location had shown. I turned the phone around and held it up for her to see. I didn't have to say a word. The screen illuminated the truth, stark and undeniable. Her face crumpled. The fake anger, the righteous indignation, it all melted away, leaving behind the ugly, plain face of guilt. Her shoulders slumped. She wouldn't look at me, her eyes fixed on the floor. Jay, I said, my voice barely a whisper. What is this? She finally looked up, her eyes glassy with tears. She hadn't earned the right to cry. Is what it looks like. The 4 words detonated the life we'd built. The shockwave threw me back and I sank onto the couch, the phone slipping from my hand and clattering onto the hardwood floor. The sound was obscene in the crushing silence. I don't remember much of what happened next. It's a blur of garbled sounds and snapshots. Her crying. Me staring at a spot on the wall. Her packing a bag. Me not saying a word to stop her. She left sometime before dawn. I heard the front door close and then there was just silence. The sun came up. The dogs, confused by the tension, came and nudged my hand. I mechanically took them out, filled their food bowls, and went back to the couch. I called my best friend Mark. It's over, I said as soon as he picked up. She cheated. He was at my door in 20 minutes with a bag of greasy breakfast sandwiches and 2 large coffees. He didn't press for details. He just sat with me, a silent, steady presence on the other end of the couch while I stared into space and tried to remember how to breathe. He was the one who finally broke the silence. What's the plan, man? The plan. My mind, which had felt like a black hole, suddenly started to click into gear. Sobriety had taught me one thing. When your world is on fire, you focus on the next right step. I need to get an STD test, I said, the words tasting like poison. Mark just nodded. I have to figure out the lease. We're both on it. The dogs, the furniture, fuck. The sheer logistics of it all was overwhelming. One thing at a time, he said. First you call your parents. Then you find a therapist. We'll figure out the rest. That night, after Mark left, I did something I hadn't planned on. I typed out the whole sordid story, every last detail, and posted it on Reddit. I needed to see it in black and white. To have strangers completely removed from my life tell me I wasn't crazy. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Hundreds of comments flooded in. The night shift was the first red flag. Weaponizing your mental health is classic abuser behavior. You're not psychotic, you were being gaslit. Each comment was a brick rebuilding the foundation she had systematically tried to destroy. Reading their words, I realized how many excuses I'd made, how many red flags I'd painted white. The validation wasn't just comforting. It was clarifying. It moved my certainty from 99.9% to a solid cold 100%. There was no going back. I looked around the apartment at the photos of us on the mantelpiece, the stupid throw pillows she'd bought, the life we had curated. It wasn't a home anymore. It was a crime scene. And I couldn't stay. My focus shifted from the pain of the past to the cold, hard mechanics of the future. I had to protect myself, my sobriety, my sanity. I pulled out my laptop and started searching for new apartments. I made an appointment for the test. I found the number for a therapist my doctor had recommended months ago. Each action was a step away from her, a step away from the man who let himself be lied to. The man I used to be was gone. The man I was now had to clean up the wreckage.
Story 6.
The digital fireplace on the TV crackled, casting a warm, fake glow across Amelia's face. She was curled up next to me on the couch, her head on my shoulder, scrolling through real estate listings on her tablet. This was our nightly ritual. House porn. A masochistic little habit for two people trying to scrape together a down payment in this economy. Ooh, look at this one, Jack, she murmured, tapping a picture of a tidy-looking colonial with a wraparound porch. 3 beds, 2.5 baths. Look at that yard. We could get a dog. We could, I said, trying to match her enthusiasm. I pointed at the price. We could also sell a couple of kidneys. She swatted my arm playfully. Be serious, the listing says, motivated seller. We're getting so close. Another year of being super strict. And we'll have the 20%. She said we, and I believed it. Every extra shift I picked up, every time we cooked at home instead of ordering takeout, every dollar that went into the high-yield savings account we'd nicknamed the Escape Pod, it was all for this. For the porch and the yard and the hypothetical dog. My phone buzzed on the coffee table. I glanced at the screen. It was my brother David. Rent time. That's all it said. It's all it ever said on the first of the month. My little sister Chloe was in her second year of a brutal grad school program 3 states away. The stipend barely covered her food. So David and I had a deal. We'd split her rent until she graduated. No discussion, no fuss. It's just what you do. Who's that? Amelia asked, not looking up from a photo of a walk-in closet. Just David, I said, picking up the phone. Time to send him Chloe's rent money. The scrolling stopped. The silence in the room suddenly felt heavy, broken only by the fake crackling fire. I could feel her stiffen beside me. Right. That she said, her voice a little tight. She put the tablet down. How much is it again? $400 from me, $400 from him. Covers her place. She did the math in her head. I could practically see the gears turning, converting the $400 from helping my sister into things we could have bought for the house. $400, she repeated slowly. Jack, we just talked about being super strict. She used air quotes, mimicking her own words from 60 seconds earlier. That's a big chunk out of the savings budget this month. I shrugged. It's not from the savings budget, it's from my budget. It's a fixed expense, like my car payment. We've always known about it. I know, but it just feels different now that we're so close to the goal, she said, turning to face me fully. Her expression had shifted from dreamy house hunter to concerned financial advisor. Every single dollar counts right now. Your family's great, I love them, but Chloe's a grown woman. Is she working? She's a full-time grad student and a TA, Amelia. She works 60 hours a week for a stipend that's basically minimum wage. This is temporary. It's been a year and a half of temporary, she shot back. That's what, over $7,000 you've just given away, money that could be in our down payment fund earning interest. I felt a flash of irritation. It's not giving it away. It's helping my sister. My brother and I decided to do it. It's a family thing. But I'm your family now too, she said, her voice softening, reaching for my hand. It was a classic Amelia move. The velvet glove. our future family. Doesn't that take priority? This was new. She'd made comments before, little passive-aggressive digs about how it must be nice to have brothers who just hand you money, but she'd never outright challenged it. Not like this. It's not an either-or situation, I said, pulling my hand away to grab my wallet. I didn't like where this was going. Wait, she said, her voice firm. Don't send it. Not yet. I stopped my hand on my banking app. Why? Let's just talk about it more tonight. A real discussion. We can make a budget, look at the numbers, and see if there isn't another way. Maybe she could get a student loan or something. She's trying to get through school without a mountain of debt. That's the whole point of us helping. Just. Promise me you won't send it until we talk, she insisted, her eyes pleading. Tonight. After dinner. Please, Jack. For me. For us. I didn't want the fight. Not then. Fine, I sighed. We'll talk tonight. She smiled, relieved, and leaned in to kiss me. Thank you. She picked the tablet back up, and just like that, we were back to looking at granite countertops. But the mood was broken. The fake fire on the TV suddenly seemed colder. The next day at work was hell. Every email, every phone call felt like an interruption to the argument replaying in my head. Asterisk, our future family. Doesn't that take priority times? The words echoed, twisting something in my gut. Was I being selfish, or was she... Lunchtime came. I sat at my desk eating a sad turkey sandwich and staring at my phone. I thought about Chloe buried in textbooks, probably living on ramen and stress. I thought about the promise I'd made to David, the simple, unspoken pact between brothers to have our sisters back. Then I thought about Amelia's calculated plea. Asterisk. For us, asterisk. It wasn't about us. It was about control. It was about her deciding where my money I earned, should go. And my sister was on the wrong side of her ledger. My thumb hovered over my banking app. I heard Amelia's voice in my head. Asterisk. Promise me you won't send it. Asterisk. I opened the app. I found David's contact. I typed in the amount, $400. In the memo line, I wrote, For Chloe. Tell her I say hi. I hit send. The little green check mark that appeared on the screen felt like a deep, clean breath of air. I let a couple of hours pass. Let the transaction settle. I didn't want to hide it, but I didn't want the immediate lunchtime explosion either. Around 3 o'clock, I picked up my phone and sent her a text. I kept it simple, direct. No apology, no excuse. Hey, just sent David the money for Chloe's rent. I put the phone face down on my desk and tried to focus on a spreadsheet. It was pointless. I was just waiting for the detonation. It took less than a minute. My phone didn't ring. It vibrated violently against the wood, a series of short, furious bursts. I flipped it over. A string of texts from Amelia. Are you fucking kidding me? After we talked, you went right behind my back and did it anyway. You have absolutely no respect for me. Another message was coming through. The little bubble with the 3 dots danced on the screen for a long, agonizing moment. Don't bother coming home until you figure out how you're going to fix this. I didn't fix it. I didn't call. I packed a bag with a few days' worth of clothes and went to David's. For 3 days, my phone was a silent, dead weight in my pocket. No calls. No texts. Nothing. It was a silence so absolute, it felt like an answer in itself. On the 4th day, her name finally lit up my screen. A text. Can we talk not on the phone? Meet me at the Daily Grind in an hour. No, hi, no, how are you? Just a summons. I found her at a small table in the back corner of the coffee shop, stirring a latte with methodical, angry little circles. She looked tired, but she'd made sure to put on the full face of makeup, the one that said, "I am winning this breakup." "You didn't call," she said, not looking up from her cup. "It wasn't a question. It was an accusation." "You told me not to until I stopped thinking like an idiot," I replied, sitting down. "I haven't." Her head snapped up, eyes flashing. "So you're just throwing this away? 2 years, our house, over $400. "It was never about the money, Amelia. It was about you giving me an ultimatum." She softened her expression, the calculated shift from anger to wounded doe. "I was hurt, Jack. You made a decision about times, our times, money times, our times, future without me. I thought we were a team." She reached across the table, trying to take my hand. I moved it to pick up my own coffee. She recoiled slightly, then pressed on. "Look, I've had some time to think. And I realize this is bigger than just your sister's rent. It's about our priorities. If we're going to get that house, if we're going to build a life, we need to be aggressive. We need to tackle our debts together as a team. All of them." There was a strange emphasis on the last part. "What debts?" I asked. "My car is paid off." "You said you were handling your credit cards." She took a deep breath like she was about to make a grand romantic gesture. "My student loans, Jack. They're nearly 6 figures. The monthly payment is significant. It's been holding me back. Holding times, us times back. I was thinking, if you stop the payments to Chloe and maybe we pull back on the house savings for just a year or two, you could start helping me pay them down. Aggressively. We could knock them out together." The room seemed to shrink. The background noise of the cafe, the hiss of the espresso machine, it all faded into a dull roar. It was so transparent, so perfectly plotted, that I almost had to laugh. The fight about Chloe, the ultimatum, this sad little coffee summit, it was all a negotiation tactic. "Let me get this straight," I said, my voice dangerously calm. "You want me to stop helping my sister who is struggling to get through grad school so I can pay off the loans for your business degree?" "It's not just times my times degree, it's times our times future," she insisted, her voice rising. "A stronger financial foundation for us." "No," I said. The word was flat. Final. "I'm not going to stop helping my family. Not for you, not for anyone." "Family?" she scoffed, dropping the mask entirely. Her face twisted into a sneer of pure contempt. "Your family's a bunch of leeches, Jack. Your parents have been bleeding you dry for years with their little emergencies. And your sister is just the latest excuse. They've raised you to be their personal ATM, and you're too stupid to even see it." I just stared at her. There was nothing left to say. No argument to win. She'd shown me exactly who she was. I stood up, pulling my keys from my pocket and setting the car key on the table. "Get your things from the apartment. Leave my key on the counter." Her face went from rage to panic and back again in a split second. "You're breaking up with me after everything I've done for you." "No," I said, looking her dead in the eye. "You broke up with us when you decided my family's well-being was an obstacle to you getting what you want." I turned to leave. "Fine," she shrieked, her voice cracking. People were starting to stare. She grabbed her purse, fumbled inside, and pulled out her own set of keys. "Here's your stupid key." She threw them. They clattered hard against my chest and fell to the floor. I didn't even flinch. I just looked down at them, then back at her, and walked out without another word. David helped me move her stuff out. Her friend, a woman who always looked at me like I was something she'd scraped off her shoe, directed the operation with silent, pursed lip efficiency. They packed the designer clothes, the expensive skincare, the tablet we used to look at houses on. In under an hour, every trace of her was gone. The apartment felt huge and empty. That night, David brought over a pizza and a six-pack. We sat on the floor of my living room, the TV off for once. "You okay, man?" he asked. "Yeah. I think so," I said, staring at the blank space on the wall where a piece of art she'd picked out used to hang. "It's weird. I should be devastated. But mostly I just feel stupid." "You're not stupid. You were in love." "Was I?" I took a long pull from my beer. "I don't think so. Not really. I was infatuated with the idea of her. The idea of us. The house, the dog, the whole thing. I looked at him. You know, she leased a BMW A5 series. We're pinching pennies on takeout, and she's driving a car with a monthly payment bigger than Chloe's rent. How did I not see that? "You see what you want to see," David said, shrugging. "Remember when she tried to convince you that our annual camping trip with Dad was a waste of a vacation day?" The memories started flooding back, a highlight reel of red flags I'd painted green. The way she'd complain about me grabbing a beer with my friends after work. The subtle digs about my parents needing help with a car repair. It wasn't about building a future with me. It was about isolating me. It was about making me the sole proprietor of her lifestyle. The student loans. I said the final piece clicking into place. She wasn't looking for a partner. She was looking for a co-signer. A financial safety net. "Well," David said, raising his bottle, "her net has a big fucking hole in it now." I clinked my bottle against his. The apartment was still empty. But for the first time in a long time, it felt clean. It felt like mine.
Story 7.
Let me tell you about my sister-in-law, Sarah. Most of the time, she's fine. We can do brunch, we can talk about whatever Netflix show everyone's binging. She's married to my brother Mark, and for his sake, I've always made the effort. But Sarah has this thing. It's a compulsion, maybe a sickness. She cannot, under any circumstances, leave my cooking alone. The first time it happened, I'd made a roast chicken. I'm talking a perfect, crispy-skinned, juicy on the inside bird. I'd brined it for hours. I'd made a compound butter with garlic, rosemary, and thyme and stuffed it under the skin. It was a masterpiece. Sarah and Mark came over for dinner. I brought the chicken to the table, and everyone was raving. I turned around to grab the gravy from the stove, and when I came back, I saw it. A dusting of bright yellow powder across my beautiful golden brown chicken. "What's this?" I asked, pointing a carving knife at the suspicious sprinkle. Sarah beamed, already reaching for a drumstick. "Oh, just a pinch of turmeric. It looked like it needed a little color. And some extra pepper. Really makes the flavor pop." I just stared. Mark was already piling his plate high, oblivious. "Thanks, Sarah," he mumbled through a mouthful of potatoes. I didn't say anything. I sliced into the bird the scent of rosemary, now fighting a weird, earthy battle with turmeric. It was annoying, but I let it go. It kept happening. I'd make a simple spaghetti bolognese, a recipe passed down from my grandmother, and I'd find oregano and a mountain of garlic powder dumped on top after she'd been in the kitchen. "It just smelled a little flat, sweetie," she'd say with a sympathetic pat on my arm. I made a delicate Thai green curry, carefully balancing the fish sauce, lime, and coconut milk. I went to the bathroom, and when I came back, the whole pot smelled faintly of Italian seasoning. Asterisk, Italian seasoning, asterisk. In a Thai curry. When I looked at her, she just shrugged. It needed more body. Each time I'd try to say something. "Hey Sarah, I'd really prefer if you didn't add things to my food without asking." And she'd give me this wounded, wide-eyed look. "I'm just trying to help. Don't be so sensitive." Mark was useless. "Linda, that's just how she is," he'd say, trying to placate me. "She thinks she's a chef. Just take it as a compliment." A compliment. It felt like a violation. It felt like walking into my house and finding she'd repainted a wall because she didn't like the color. It was my food, my kitchen, my effort. But for Mark, I'd bite my tongue until it bled, smile tightly, and scrape the foreign spices off my portion. This pattern went on for 2 years. A sprinkle here, a dash there. A constant low-grade irritation that I learned to manage by keeping her out of the kitchen as much as possible. Then came the tomatoes. I had scored 40 pounds of gorgeous late-season San Marzanos from a local farm. It was my yearly ritual. An entire weekend dedicated to turning this bounty into a base tomato sauce for the entire year. It's a brutal, thankless, beautiful process. My Saturday was a blur of steam and sweat. I blanched every single tomato, plunging them from boiling water to ice baths until my fingers were numb. I spent hours slipping the skins off the pile of vibrant red flesh growing on my counter. I cored them, crushed them by hand, and filled 5 of my largest stock pots. My whole house smelled like sunshine in summer. I let them simmer for hours, reducing and concentrating the scent, getting deeper and richer. All day Saturday, just prepping. Sunday was for finishing. I milled out the seeds, returning the silky smooth puree to the clean pots. The plan was simple: get the base sauce perfect, then can it. That's the whole point. It's a blank canvas. When I want to make chili in February, I can grab a jar and add cumin and chili powder. When I want to make pasta sauce in April, I can add basil and garlic. You do times, not times, season the base sauce. It's the cardinal rule of canning. By Sunday afternoon, I was exhausted, my back ached, and my hands were stained red. But I was triumphant. 5 massive pots of flawless, unseasoned, perfect tomato sauce bubbled gently on my stovetop. My winter pantry was secured. That's when my phone buzzed. It was Mark. Asterisk. Hey, can we swing by in 5? Left my drill at your place last week. Asterisk. Asterisk. Sure times, I texted back. Asterisk, doors open. I'm in the kitchen, don't mind the mess. Asterisk. A few minutes later, I heard the front door open. Hey, Lynn, Mark called out. We won't be a minute. He came to the kitchen doorway while Sarah wandered toward the living room. Whoa, he said, looking at the 5 pots. You weren't kidding. That's a lot of sauce. 40 pounds of tomatoes, I said, wiping sweat from my forehead with the back of my arm. My weekend condensed into 5 pots. Smells amazing, he said. He went to the hall closet to find his drill. Sarah reappeared. Wow, Linda, you've been busy. She walked over to the stove, peering into the pots like a health inspector. She picked up a spoon, dipped it into the nearest pot, and tasted it. Her face scrunched up slightly. It's just a base sauce, Sarah, I said quickly. It's not supposed to have any seasoning yet. Right. Of course, she said, her eyes scanning my spice rack. Mark came back, drill in hand. Got it. All right, we're out of here. Talk to you later, Lynn. Bye, guys, I said, turning my back to stir one of the pots. They were at the front door. I heard their muffled goodbyes and then the click of the door shutting. The whole visit took maybe 3 minutes. I let out a huge sigh of relief. The house was quiet again. Just me and my sauce. I stirred each pot one last time, getting ready to start the canning process. As I moved from the first pot to the second, a strange aroma hit my nose. It wasn't the pure, clean scent of cooked down tomatoes. It was something else. Something familiar and unwelcome. I leaned over the second pot. I saw it immediately. A slick of olive oil shimmering on the surface. Flecks of black pepper. And something else. Green specks. I dipped the spoon in and brought it closer. Dried oregano. And thyme. My heart started hammering against my ribs. No. She wouldn't. I lunged to the third pot, the same thing. The fourth pot, the same. My hands were shaking as I moved to the fifth and final pot, the biggest one. I peered into the deep red liquid. There, swirling in the heat, was a faint, sickeningly yellow cloud. Turmeric. She had seasoned all of it. Every last drop. 40 pounds of tomatoes, 2 days of brutal labor, my entire winter supply. Ruined. She hadn't just added a pinch of salt. She had created her own flavor profile, a bizarre concoction of salt, pepper, olive oil, Italian herbs, and turmeric, and dumped it into my 5 pots of pristine blank canvas-based sauce. I stood there, frozen in my steamy kitchen, staring at the oily, herb-flecked evidence of her crime. The rage started as a low hum in my chest and grew into a roar that deafened me. It wasn't about the spices anymore. It was about the complete and utter disrespect. The arrogance. The audacity. Through the window, I saw Mark's car still parked at the curb. He was probably on his phone, Sarah in the passenger seat beside him, scrolling through hers, smugly satisfied with her helpful little fix. I dropped the spoon. It clattered against the floor, splattering red sauce across the tile like blood. Wiping my hands on my apron, I walked out of my kitchen through my living room and pulled open the front door. They were just about to pull away. My voice when it came out was nothing like my own. It was dangerously calm. Mark. He stopped the car and rolled down the window, a confused look on his face. What's up? Forget something. Both of you, inside, now. My tone must have cut through the air because he didn't argue. He just put the car in park and got out. Sarah emerged from the passenger side looking annoyed. Linda, we're kind of in a hurry. I didn't answer her. I just turned and walked back into my house, leaving the front door wide open. I went straight to the kitchen and stood there, arms crossed, waiting. They followed me in. The air was thick with the clashing scents of pure tomato and Sarah's bizarre spice cocktail. Okay, what's the big draw? Mark started. Then he stopped. He saw my face. He looked at the 5 pots simmering on the stove. I didn't say a word. I just picked up the spoon I dropped, dipped it into the nearest pot, and held it out. The slick of olive oil caught the light. The flecks of mystery herbs were suspended in the ruined red. Mark looked confused. I don't... But Sarah knew. A smug little smile played on her lips. Oh, that I just helped it along a little. It was so bland, it just needed some taste. That was it. That was the line. All the frustration, all the bitten back comments from the past 2 years erupted inside me. But it didn't come out as a scream. It came out as ice. I completely ignored her. I turned my full attention to my brother, my voice low and shaking with fury. Mark. He flinched. Take your wife and get out of my house. Sarah scoffed. Excuse me, Linda, don't be so dramatic. I was helping. I still didn't look at her. My eyes were locked on my brother's. She is never, ever to set foot in this house again. Do you understand me? She is banned. Permanently. Linda, come on, Mark pleaded, his eyes darting between me and his wife. It's just sauce. It was 2 days of my life, I snapped. It was 40 pounds of tomatoes. It was my winter. And she walked in here and pissed in it because she has no respect. Not for me, not for my work, not for my home. I pointed to the stove. And? You're going to take it with you. What? He asked, bewildered. Get containers. Get buckets. I don't care. You are taking every last drop of this ruined sauce with you tonight. And then you are going to the farmer's market and you are buying me 40 pounds of San Marzano tomatoes. You will deliver them to my doorstep. Now get her and this garbage out of my sight. Sarah finally seemed to grasp that this wasn't one of our usual little spats. You can't be serious. You're insane. It's food. Get out, I finally roared, pointing at the door. Mark, for once in his life, didn't try to placate. He saw something in my eyes he'd never seen before. He grabbed Sarah's arm. Let's go, Sarah. But, now he said, his voice firm. He dragged her out of the kitchen. I stood there listening to them rustle around my pantry, finding old Tupperware and empty yogurt containers to ladle my ruined sauce into. The scraping of the spoon against the bottom of my pots was the sound of my heart breaking. An hour later, they were gone. The sauce was gone. My kitchen was quiet, empty, and smelled of betrayal. The next afternoon, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Mark standing alone on the porch. At his feet was a massive cardboard box overflowing with beautiful red, perfect San Marzano tomatoes. He was holding a bakery box in one hand and an envelope in the other. He looked exhausted. Lynn, Did you bring the tomatoes? I asked, my voice flat. Yeah. 40 pounds. And this. He held out the bakery box and the envelope. It's a Black Forest cake. Your favorite? And a letter. Is the letter from her? No, he said quickly. It's for me. I took the box of tomatoes and slid it inside. I took the cake and the letter and set them on my entry table. Then I looked back at him. Thank you for replacing the tomatoes, Mark. I appreciate that you did the right thing. He looked relieved for a split second. So, are we okay? Can I tell Sarah that... The bandstands, I said, cutting him off. She is not welcome here. Nothing has changed. His face fell. Linda, she knows she messed up. She feels terrible. Does she? I asked, raising an eyebrow. Does she feel terrible for ruining 2 days of my labor, or does she feel terrible that she's finally facing a consequence? He had no answer for that. I love you, Mark. You are always welcome in my home. Your wife is not. That is my boundary. You can either respect it or not. The choice is yours. I closed the door before he could argue. I left the cake on the table, unopened. I had no appetite. 2 days later, my phone rang. It was my mother. I knew this call was coming. Linda, honey. I just spoke to Mark. What is this I hear about you banning Sarah from your house? That's correct, I said, starting to wash the first of the new tomatoes. I wasn't wasting any time. Well, I think that's a massive overreaction. She made a mistake. She apologized. She did not apologize, I interrupted. Mark apologized. He replaced the ingredients. She has done nothing. You're putting your brother in a terrible position. And what about Thanksgiving? You always host. What are we supposed to do now? The manipulation was so textbook, it was almost funny. Almost. Mom, you have a few options, I said, my voice dangerously calm as I plunged a batch of tomatoes into boiling water. You can host. Dad can host. Mark and Sarah can host. You can all go to a restaurant. What you will not be doing is coming here. There was a stunned silence on the other end of the line. I am not setting myself on fire to keep the rest of you warm anymore, I continued, scooping the tomatoes into an ice bath. My home is my sanctuary. If Sarah can't respect that, she doesn't get to be in it. And if the rest of you can't respect my decision to protect my own peace, then maybe you should stay home too. Linda, you are tearing this family apart over some times. Spices, times, she cried, her voice escalating. No, Mom, I said, picking up the first tomato and feeling the skin slip off perfectly between my fingers. I'm not. I'm just cleaning my house. I hung up the phone. I looked around my kitchen at the piles of fresh, unadulterated tomatoes waiting for me. For the first time in days, the air smelled clean. It smelled like my own. And it was worth it.
Story 8.
It started on a Tuesday over takeout noodles that tasted like cardboard in my mouth. I was thinking, Kat said, pushing a rogue piece of broccoli around her plate. We should open our marriage. I choked on my water. You were what? Open it up? See other people? Just for sex? It could be healthy, spice things up. She said it so casually, like she was suggesting we repaint the living room. I stared at her. My wife of 8 years. The woman I'd built a life with, whose every smile I thought I knew. Her face was a perfect mask of calm, but her eyes wouldn't quite meet mine. No, I said. It was the only word I could find. Eli, just think about it. No. Fucking no. What the hell is wrong with you? The calm cracked. A flash of something ugly, annoyance, maybe even anger crossed her face before she smoothed it over. Fine. It was just a suggestion. But it wasn't. It was a starting pistol. After that night, the chill set in. Not a dramatic door-slamming freeze, but a slow, creeping frost that killed everything. She'd roll over when I tried to touch her in bed. Kisses became quick, dry pecks on the cheek. Conversations dwindled to logistics. Did you pay the electric bill? I'll be home late tonight. The late nights became a regular thing. Kat was a senior marketing director, a real shark. I'd always been proud of her ambition. But this was different. Massive project she'd text at 10 p.m. Dealing with the Singapore office. Time zones are a killer. Client dinner ran long. She'd whisper, sliding into bed at 1 a.m., smelling of expensive perfume and wine I didn't recognize. I tried to be the supportive husband. I really did. I'd leave dinner in the oven for her. I'd text her good luck before a big presentation. But a knot of suspicion was twisting in my gut, getting tighter with every flimsy excuse. She was always on her phone, angling the screen away from me, a tight little smile on her face as she typed. One Thursday, the knot became a rock. She texted me at 9 p.m. times, buried in spreadsheets at the office. This Q3 report is going to be the death of me. Don't wait up. Love you. Asterisk. Something snapped. I needed to see her. Maybe if I saw her there, surrounded by files, looking exhausted, this poison in my head would finally drain away. I wanted to be wrong. God, I wanted to be so wrong. I drove downtown, picking up her favorite spicy chicken from that place she loves. A peace offering for my own shitty thoughts. I walked into the lobby of her glass and steel office building. The lights were dim. A lone security guard sat at the front desk, scrolling on his phone. Evening, I said, holding up the food bag. Just dropping something off for my wife, Catherine Vance. 44th floor. He looked up, bored. Nobody's on 44, man. Whole floor's been dark since 6. My blood went cold. No, that can't be right. She's working late. On the Q3 report. He shrugged, already losing interest. Card access logs don't lie. Her badge hasn't been used to enter the building since she left at 5:15 p.m. I stood there like an idiot, the smell of greasy chicken filling my nose. I thanked him and walked out my mind, a blank, roaring static. I drove home, threw the food in the trash, and sat on the couch in the dark. She came in at 1:37 a.m. Hey, she whispered, flicking on a lamp. You're up. Yeah. God, what a night. I think my eyes are permanently crossed from staring at data. She kicked off her heels and stretched. I'm so exhausted. I just looked at her. How was the office? The same. Soul-crushing. She laughed, but it sounded brittle. I'm going to shower. She walked past me, and that's when I knew. She didn't just lie. She did it easily without a flicker of hesitation. She looked right at me and built a fantasy world on top of our life. The rock in my gut was an anchor now pulling me down into a very dark place. The breaking point came 2 nights later. She was on a FaceTime call with her mom who'd been sick. Kat was in the living room, putting on her concerned daughter face, all furrowed brows, and soothing tones. "Of course, Mom. Just focus on resting." "Yes, I'll call you first thing in the morning." She ended the call and set her phone on the coffee table screen up before heading into the kitchen to get a glass of water. It was unlocked. In 8 years, she'd never been careless with her phone. But tonight, she was. My heart hammered against my ribs. Asterisk. Don't do it. Just let it go. You're being paranoid. Asterisk. But I wasn't. And I knew it. My hands were shaking as I snatched the phone off the table. I heard the faucet running in the kitchen. I didn't hesitate. I walked straight into our master bathroom and locked the door behind me, my breath catching in my throat. I opened her Instagram first. My thumb scrolled down to her DMs. My world ended. There were threads with names she'd mentioned in passing. The new interns, Leo, Mark, young, hungry kids she was supposedly mentoring. The messages were a punch to the gut. Flirtatious jokes, coded plans. Then the photos. My thumb trembled as I tapped open the gallery on her phone. It wasn't just selfies. It was her. Naked. Posed. In hotel rooms I didn't recognize. In office bathrooms, there were screenshots of video calls, her face flushed with the kind of excitement I hadn't seen in years. And there were photos of them. Leo with his stupid, cocky grin, shirtless in what looked like her car. Mark, a picture of his bare chest with her hand, our wedding ring glinting, resting on it. It wasn't one affair. It was a goddamn hobby. The sound of my own ragged breathing filled the small room. The open marriage proposal, it wasn't a suggestion. It was a request for a retroactive hall pass for the shit she was already pulling. I scrolled numb, sick, my vision blurring. And then I saw the most recent message from a guy I didn't recognize named Javier. It was a new thread from just this afternoon. Asterisk. Javier. Can't wait for tonight. Asterisk. Asterisk. Cat me either. Longest week ever. I need a release. Asterisk. Asterisk. Javier, the Grandview Hotel. Room 812, 9 p.m. Don't be late. Asterisk. I looked at my watch. 8:15 p.m. I heard her knock on the bathroom door. Eli, you okay in there? I didn't answer. I just stared at her phone, at the address, at the room number. My blood turned to ice. My heart stopped hammering and settled into a low, heavy thud. The anchor in my stomach wasn't pulling me down anymore. It was holding me steady. I airdropped the most damning photos to my laptop in under 30 seconds. Her entire secret life transferred in a silent, invisible stream of data. I put her phone back on the bathroom counter face down. My hands weren't shaking anymore. Eli, everything okay? Her voice was muffled through the wood. I unlocked the door and pulled it open. She was standing there, a little frown of concern on her face. It was the same look she gave her mother on FaceTime. A performance. Fine, I said. The word felt like swallowing gravel. I pushed past her without meeting her eyes. I walked into the bedroom, grabbed my wallet from the dresser, my keys from the bowl by the door. Where are you going? It's late. Out. Out where annoyance was creeping into her voice. Eli, don't be weird. Talk to me. turned to the door and finally looked at her. I let my eyes sweep over her face, the face I used to think was the most honest thing in the world. I didn't feel rage. I didn't feel sadness. I felt nothing. A vast, echoing void. "I have nothing to say to you," I said, and walked out, closing the door quietly behind me. The Grandview was one of those new soulless hotels downtown. All chrome and blue lighting. I sat at the bar overlooking the lobby, ordered a double whiskey, and watched the entrance. I drank the first one so fast it burned a trail all the way down. I ordered a second. The ice clinked against the glass, the only sound in my head. At 9:07 p.m., she walked in. She was wearing a black dress I'd never seen before. Her hair was down. She had on the red lipstick she only wore when she wanted to close a deal. She checked her phone, a small, eager smile on her face. She wasn't looking for me. She was looking for roommate 12. I watched her cross the polished marble floor toward the check-in desk, then reroute to the guest elevators. My legs moved on their own, carrying me across the lobby to intercept her. She was pressing the up button when I came to a stop beside her. "Cat." She jumped her head, snapping around. The smile vanished, replaced by a flicker of pure panic. "Eli, what are you doing here?" "Just in the neighborhood," I said, my voice eerily calm. I gestured with my glass toward the glowing button. "Going up?" Yes. It's a client thing. Last minute. "International," she stammered, the lies coming out weak and pathetic. The elevator chimed, the door sliding open with a soft hiss. She didn't move. I leaned in close, my voice dropping to a whisper just for her. "Roommate 12, right, Javier's waiting." Her face went pale, her lipstick suddenly looking garish and cheap. "Don't let me keep you." I took a step back. I looked at her, truly looked at her. One last time, a stranger in a black dress. I raised my glass in a mock toast. "Have a fun ride." I turned and walked away without looking back. I didn't hear the elevator doors close. I didn't care. I walked out of the hotel into the cold night air and called my friend Mike. My hands started shaking again. "Mike," I said when he answered, "I need a couch." The next morning I woke up on Mike's lumpy sofa with a sandpaper tongue and a skull full of hammers. But my mind was crystal clear. I sat up, grabbed my phone, and began the demolition. Block number, Catherine Vance. Block. Block on Instagram. Block. Block on Facebook. Block. Block on everything. Then I made 2 calls. The first was to our bank. I identified myself, went through security, and gave the order. I want an immediate freeze on joint checking account 7,741 and joint savings account 7,742. Suspected fraudulent activity. The second call was to the best divorce attorney in the city. The one with a reputation for being a goddamn shark. I booked a consultation for that afternoon. I spent the rest of the day at Mike's transferring the evidence from my laptop to a hard drive. Every photo, every message. An entire portfolio of her betrayal. When I walked into the lawyer's office, I didn't have a story. I had a file. He took one look at it and smiled. "This will be quick," he said. The papers were served to her at her office the next day. Kat tried to fight, of course. For 2 weeks, my phone buzzed with calls from unknown numbers and my inbox filled with emails from new accounts she'd created. They started as panicked apologies, then morphed into furious accusations. Asterisk. "This is your fault, Eli. You were so distant you pushed me away. Asterisk. Asterisk. You're destroying my life over a mistake asterisk. Asterisk, I'm entitled to alimony. You can't just throw me out with nothing. Asterisk. I read them and I deleted them. I never replied. My lawyer handled everything. Her real downfall wasn't the divorce, it was her own arrogance. It turned out that Javier wasn't the only new intern she was mentoring. Leo and Mark, the original two, found out about each other and about the new guy. Their boyish crush on the powerful older woman curdled into humiliation and spite. They started talking, joking in the break room, showing messages to other interns. Gossip in a corporate office spreads faster than fire. Within a month, the whispers about the senior marketing director who slept with the interns were a roar. Her professional reputation, the one she'd sacrificed our marriage for, was incinerated. HR launched an internal review. She was fired a week later for gross misconduct and abuse of her position. The last I heard from her was a final desperate email that slipped past my filters. She'd lost her job, her friends had ghosted her, and she was demanding I stop the divorce proceedings so she could get her life back on track. She blamed me for everything. For her affairs, for her getting fired, for her public humiliation. I read the email while sitting on the balcony of my new apartment, a small place downtown that was all mine. The legal battle was still churning, but it was just paperwork now. The war was over. I had the hard drive. I had the truth. She had nothing. I deleted the email. I took a sip of my coffee and looked out at the city lights coming on. For the first time in months, I felt the knot in my stomach finally completely unwind.
Story 9.
The timer on my screen hit 0, and the little loading circle spun for what felt like an eternity. My heart was pounding against my ribs. Garth Brooks. Vegas. The +1 residency. Tickets were basically unobtainable, a Ticketmaster bloodbath of epic proportions. Then the screen flashed. Asterisk. Congratulations. You have secured 6 tickets. Asterisk. I actually screamed. My husband Mark came running into the office. Did you get them? I got them. I spun around in my chair holding up my phone like it was the Holy Grail. 6 for all of us. The plan had been brewing for months in our group chat aptly named Vegas Girls Trip. Me and Mark, my best friend Maya and her husband Leo, and my other closest friend Chloe and her boyfriend Ethan. 3 couples, 1 epic weekend. I immediately snapped a screenshot and fired it off to the group chat. Asterisk, asterisk me, asterisk, asterisk we are going to Vegas bitches. The replies came in a flood. Asterisk, asterisk, Maya, asterisk, asterisk, no. Fucking way. Catherine, you are a legend. Asterisk, asterisk, Chloe, asterisk, asterisk, OMFG. I'm literally shaking. I love you. My fingers flew across the screen. These tickets weren't cheap. We were talking primo seats, not the nosebleeds where Garth looks like a tiny ant-sized cowboy. I'd put the whole charge on my travel rewards credit card to get the points, but there was no way I could float $2,500. Asterisk, asterisk, me, asterisk, asterisk. Okay, so total for all 6 was $3,600. That's $1,200 per couple. My Amex bill is due on the 25th of next month. I absolutely cannot carry a balance on this card, so I need the money from you guys before then. Cool. Asterisk, asterisk, Maya, asterisk, asterisk, totally cool. You're a lifesaver for putting it on your card. Will Venmo you as soon as possible. Asterisk, asterisk. Chloe, asterisk, asterisk. Yes, of course. Thanks again, Kay. We owe you big time. The relief was instant. The trip was real. The money was sorted. For the next 2 weeks, the chat was a flurry of activity, links to hotels on the Strip debates over which steakhouses were essential outfit planning. It was perfect. 2 weeks before my credit card bill was due, I sent the first gentle reminder. Asterisk. Asterisk. Me, asterisk. Asterisk. Hey guys, just a friendly reminder about the Garth ticket money. The Amex bill is coming up soon. My Venmo is at Catherine Miller. Asterisk, asterisk, Maya, asterisk, asterisk. Oh my god, yes, totally forgot. It's been a crazy week at work. I'll send it over tonight when I get home. Asterisk, asterisk, Chloe, asterisk, asterisk. Shoot me too. Payday is Friday. I'll get it to you then for sure. No problem. I get it. Life happens. Friday came and went. I checked my Venmo. Nothing from Chloe. I checked again Saturday morning. Nothing from Maya either. A week later, with only 5 days until the payment deadline, the panic started to set in. This wasn't a $50 brunch bill I was chasing. This was a serious amount of money. I typed out another message, this time a little more direct. Asterisk, asterisk, me, asterisk, asterisk. Hey, my credit card payment is due on Tuesday. I really need the $1.200 from each of you for the tickets today if possible. This time only, Maya replied. Asterisk, asterisk, Maya, asterisk, asterisk, GK, I am so sorry. Leo and I had an unexpected vet bill for the dog, totally wiped us out. Can I get it to you next week? Next week was after my bill was due. My stomach twisted. I decided to message Chloe privately. Asterisk, asterisk, me, asterisk, asterisk, hey Chloe, just checking in on the Vegas money. The bill is due in a few days, and I'm getting a little stressed about it. The 3 little dots appeared, then disappeared. Appeared, then disappeared. Finally, a message came through. Asterisk, asterisk, Chloe, asterisk, asterisk. Hey, so sorry, Ethan's car needed new tires. We're a little tight. Is it okay if we just pay you back in a couple weeks? I stared at the screen, my blood starting to boil. A couple of weeks. They wanted me to carry a $2.400 balance and eat the interest because of their dog and their tires. Did they think I was a bank? I'm diligent, almost neurotically. So about paying my credit card in full. Every single month. It's a point of pride. It's how I was raised. You don't spend money you don't have. My hands were shaking as I typed my reply to both of them. Asterisk. Asterisk. Me. Asterisk. Asterisk. I was really clear from the beginning that I couldn't float this. The bill is due Tuesday. I need the money by then. I was left on read. By both of them. Tuesday arrived. The payment due date. I woke up with a knot of dread in my stomach. I opened my Venmo app praying. 0. Not a single dollar had been sent. My Amex app glared at me times. Minimum payment due $75. Statement balance. $3.648.19. Asterisk. I felt sick. Humiliated. They had put me in this position knowing full well what the terms were. They had agreed. And now they were just ignoring me. Their silence was deafening. It wasn't an accident. It was a choice. Furious and close to tears, I picked up the phone and called the one person who would understand my financial anxiety, my older sister, Olivia. Hey, what's up? She answered, her kids screaming playfully in the background. I let it all out. The excitement of getting the tickets, the crystal clear payment plan, the lame excuses, the radio silence. And now they just expect me to take a hit on my credit score to pay interest on their times concert tickets because they can't manage their money. I'm so angry I could spit. There was a pause on the other end of the line. Are you kidding me? Olivia said, her voice sharp. That's insane. You know, our stepsister Ashley and I were in the queue for those tickets for 2 hours and got shut out. We were so bummed. A light bulb went off in my head. A brilliant, vengeful, problem-solving light bulb. Liv, I said, slowly a plan forming. Do you and Ashley still want to go? To Garth in Vegas? Are you joking? Of course we do. I have 4 tickets that just became available, I said, a grin spreading across my face. They're $600 each. I need the money today. Done, she said without a second of hesitation. I'm sending you my half right now and I'll get Ashley's. Consider them sold. Not even 5 minutes later, my phone pinged with 2 back-to-back notifications. Asterisk Venmo. Olivia paid you $1 200. Note, Vegas, baby asterisk. Asterisk Venmo, Ashley paid you $1 200. Note, Garth, here we come. Thank you, asterisk. The weight that lifted off my chest was monumental. I immediately opened my Amex app and paid the entire balance in full. Then I called Mark. Change of plans. The Vegas trip is now a family affair. A week before the concert, I posted a picture on Instagram. It was a boomerang of 4 glasses clinking together, mine, Mark's, Olivia's, and Ashley's. I captioned it times Final Vegas planning session. Complete T-minus 7 days until Garth Brooks. Asterisk. I was scrolling through the comments smiling when a new message notification popped up at the top of my screen. It was from Maya. My thumb hovered over the bubble, then pressed down. Hey, the message read. Just saw your story, so fun. Are you guys going to the concert twice or something, lol? My fingers went cold. Asterisk. Twice or something, lol. Asterisk. The casualness of it, the breezy little lol at the end, felt like a slap in the face. It was as if the past 2 weeks of my frantic reminders and their blatant ghosting had never happened. I took a deep breath, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. Mark walked in, saw the look on my face, and just raised an eyebrow. I held up a finger telling him to wait. I typed out my reply. No emotion. Just facts. Asterisk. Asterisk. Me, asterisk, asterisk. No, not going twice. I sold the 4 unpaid tickets to Olivia and Ashley to cover the Amex bill. I hit send. The delivered receipt turned to read almost instantly. The 3 little dots for Maya started typing, disappearing, then typing again. Before she could finish her thought, a notification from the Vegas Girls Trip group chat exploded on my screen. It was Chloe. Asterisk, asterisk, Chloe, asterisk, asterisk, Catherine. What the fuck is Maya talking about? You sold our tickets. And then Maya chimed in, abandoning our private chat for the group audience. Asterisk, asterisk, Maya, asterisk, asterisk. I'm so confused. You sold them without even telling us. We had the time booked off work. Leo and I both took vacation days. Asterisk, asterisk, Chloe, asterisk, asterisk. Ethan too. We booked this off months ago when you first got the tickets. This was our big trip for the year. I stared at the messages, my blood turning to ice. Booked time off work, but couldn't manage to send a Venmo. The audacity was breathtaking. Asterisk, asterisk, me, asterisk, asterisk. I told you both repeatedly that I needed the money before my bill was due on the 25th. I sent reminders. I privately messaged you. You both ignored me. Asterisk, asterisk, Maya, asterisk, asterisk. We weren't ignoring you. I told you we had a vet bill. We were going to pay you next week. Asterisk, asterisk, Chloe, asterisk, asterisk. Yeah, what the hell, Kay? You couldn't just wait a few more days. It's not that big of a deal. Not that big of a deal. $2,400 was times not that big of a deal, asterisk. The rage that had been simmering for weeks finally boiled over. Asterisk, asterisk. Me, asterisk, asterisk. Not a big deal for you to expect me to go into credit card debt, for you to pay interest on your concert tickets because you had a vet bill and bought new tires. Yes, it is a big deal to me. Asterisk, asterisk, Maya, asterisk, asterisk. Oh my God, you're being so dramatic. You could have just paid the minimum payment on the card and held them for us. That's what normal people do. That was it. That was the line. Projecting their own shoddy financial habits onto me is the normal way to behave. The sheer unadulterated entitlement of it sent me into a calm, focused fury. I stopped typing replies. Instead, I scrolled up. All the way up in our chat history, back to the day I bought the tickets. To the giddy excitement and the crystal clear terms. Asterisk, asterisk, me. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Okay, so total for all 6 was $3,600. That's $1,200 per couple. My Amex bill is due on the 25th of next month. I absolutely cannot carry a balance on this card, so I need the money from you guys before then. Cool asterisk. Asterisk, asterisk, Maya, asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Totally cool, you're a lifesaver for putting it on your card. We'll Venmo you as soon as possible, asterisk. Asterisk, asterisk, Chloe, asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Yes, of course, thanks again, Kay. We owe you big time, asterisk. I screenshotted the entire exchange. Then I went to my private chat with Chloe, where she'd given me the new tires excuse and then left me on red. Screenshot. Then I found Maya's vet bill excuse followed by her silence. Screenshot. I returned to the group chat and sent the 3 images one after another without a single word of commentary. The chat went silent for a full minute. I could practically feel them reading the words they'd so casually typed weeks ago, now staring back at them like an indictment. Then Chloe's message came through dripping with venom. Asterisk, asterisk, Chloe, asterisk, asterisk. So that's it. You just screw us over. Some friend you are. Asterisk, asterisk, me, asterisk, asterisk. A friend isn't a line of credit. I held up my end. I got the impossible tickets. I was clear about the terms. You're not mad at me. You're mad you got caught being flaky and irresponsible, and now there are consequences. Asterisk, asterisk, Maya, asterisk, asterisk. This is unbelievable. Leo is looking at StubHub right now, and the cheapest tickets in the shittiest section are $2,000 each. We can't afford that. You've ruined this entire trip. I actually laughed. A short, sharp, bitter sound. Asterisk, asterisk, me, asterisk, asterisk, no. Times you, times ruined the trip when you decided your friend's financial well-being was less important than a Venmo transfer you couldn't be bothered to make. You expected me to risk my credit score for your fun. The only thing that's unbelievable here is your nerve. Mark was reading over my shoulder, his arm around my waist. He gave my shoulder a squeeze. Asterisk, asterisk, Chloe, asterisk, asterisk. Fuck you, Catherine. That was the last message I read. I clicked on the group chat name. Scrolled to the bottom. My finger hovered over the bright red button. Asterisk. Leave group. Asterisk. I tapped it. A small pop-up asked for confirmation. Asterisk. Are you sure you want to leave Vegas, girls? Trip. Asterisk. I tapped. Leave. The chat disappeared from my screen. It was gone. Just like that. Years of friendship erased with a click. I felt a pang of sadness, but it was buried under an avalanche of relief. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Olivia. Asterisk, asterisk, Olivia, asterisk, asterisk, everything okay. Saw your post, then Maya and Chloe both unfollowed you. I took a picture of my face smirking, holding up a glass of wine Mark had just poured me. Asterisk, asterisk, me, asterisk, asterisk, everything is perfect. Better, actually. Get ready for Vegas. The drama-free version.
Story Teen.
The wedding is my gift to you. The words felt good coming out of my mouth. Big brotherly generous. My sister Beth was sitting across from me at a coffee shop, her new engagement ring catching the light every time she gestured, which was a lot. At 32, she'd finally found her guy, and I was genuinely happy for her. I'll plan the whole thing start to finish, I continued. No fee. My time, my connections, my expertise, it's all yours. I'm a wedding planner. At 25, I'm good at it too. I built a solid business from the ground up, and my calendar is a nightmare of color-coded bookings. Beth's October wedding date fell squarely in my busiest, most lucrative season. Gifting her my services meant turning down at least 2, maybe 3 full coordination packages. It was a 5-figure gift, easy. Oh my God, Ash, really? She clapped her hands together. That's amazing. It'll save us so much money. The first red flag. She heard free, not gift. But I let it slide. I was happy for her. For the first month, things were fine. We toured venues. I called in a massive favor and got her a 20% discount on a gorgeous historical estate she loved. That alone saved her $5,000. We talked color palettes and catering. It was collaborative. It was fun. Then the shift happened. A switch flipped, and my sweet, reasonable sister was replaced by a creature of pure, unfiltered stress, Bridezilla Beth. It started with the invitations. I'd curated a dozen mock-ups from a designer I work with, all based on the rustic elegance theme she'd described. I don't know, she said, frowning at the proofs I'd laid out on her dining table. The font on this one feels angry. Angry. And this one, she said, pointing to another, the paper is too papery. We went back and forth for 3 weeks. Every day, a new text. Asterisk. What about sage green instead of olive times? A day later times. Actually, olive was better. Let's go back. Asterisk. Then times. Can we see a version where the font is cursive but not TOO cursive? Times. I spent hours on the phone with the designer, apologizing, cajoling, and eating the cost of the extra revisions myself. The real chaos started with the photographer. I pulled my biggest string. I got her Chloe Vaughn. Chloe usually has a 2-year waiting list and a price tag that could buy a decent sedan. I got Beth a friends and family rate that was practically theft, on the condition that Beth be low maintenance and organized. All she needs from you is the final timeline and a shot list by the first of the month. I explained to Beth over the phone. That's it. Super simple. The first of the month came and went. I got a call from Chloe a week later. Her tone was ice. Asher, I've emailed your sister 3 times. I've texted twice. If I don't get that timeline by tomorrow, I'm pulling out. I don't care what discount I gave you. This is unprofessional. My stomach dropped. I hung up and immediately called Beth. No answer. I called her fiancé, Mark. Oh yeah, he said casually. She saw the emails. She said she was just super busy this week. Super busy doing what, pinning 400 pictures of identical table centerpieces. I felt a hot flash of anger. I smoothed things over with Chloe, promising her she'd have the list by morning. Then I spent the next 4 hours basically creating the shot list myself, based on our previous conversations. Typing up a minute-by-minute schedule of the entire wedding day and emailing it to Beth with the subject line, "Copy and day." Paste this and send it to Chloe. Now. She replied an hour later. Asterisk. THEX, you're a lifesaver, asterisk. I wasn't a lifesaver. I was her unpaid assistant cleaning up messes she shouldn't have been making. I was fielding panicked calls from the caterer because Beth decided she wanted to change from a plated dinner to food trucks 6 weeks before the wedding. I was turning down a potential 6-figure destination wedding in Cabo because the consultation call conflicted with Beth's cake-tasting emergency. My own business was suffering, my paying clients were getting the B-team version of me, and my stress levels were through the roof. But I kept telling myself times, she's your sister. It's your gift. Asterisk. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. I was on site for another wedding, juggling a florist who'd brought peonies instead of gardenias, and a groomsman who'd lost the rings. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was Beth. Her tone was bubbly, a complete 180 from the tear-filled call I'd gotten an hour earlier about the potential for rain. Hey Ash, quick question, she chirped. Mark and I are finalizing the registry. We just wanted to give you first dibs on one of the big ticket items before we send the link out to everyone else. I stopped in the middle of the hallway, the frantic energy of the wedding around me fading to a dull hum. I must have misheard her. "What are you talking about?" I asked, my voice flat. "The registry, our gift registry. There's a really cool espresso machine or the honeymoon fund." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice even. "Beth, my gift is planning the wedding, the entire wedding. For free." She laughed. It was a light, dismissive little sound that made the hairs on my arms stand up. "Oh, that's sweet, Ash," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. "But that's just you, doing your job. That's not really a times gift, asterisk." The world tilted. "Not a gift, Beth. My fee for a wedding this size is $20,000. I've gotten you discounts that have saved you another $10,000. That's a $30,000 gift." "Well, you're not actually paying times for anything, are you?" she retorted, her voice hardening. "It's not like you wrote a check for the venue." That just feels... it just feels a little cheap for my own brother not to get us a real present. Cheap. The word echoed in the silent hallway. All the sleepless nights, the lost income, the frantic damage control, all of it erased and branded as cheap. "I have to go." I set my jaw so tight I could barely speak. I hung up before she could reply. I stood there for a full minute, phone in my hand, my mind a blank wall of white-hot rage. Then my phone buzzed again. A text. It was from our mom. Asterisk. "Asher, Beth just called me very upset." "What is this I hear about you refusing to buy her a wedding gift?" Asterisk. Another buzz. "A group chat with my aunts and uncles. My Uncle Mike times heard you're stiffing your sister on a gift. Not a good look, kid." Asterisk. My phone kept buzzing, one message after another, a tidal wave of judgment from people who had no idea what I'd been doing for the last 6 months. She hadn't just insulted me. She'd gone on the offensive. She'd twisted the story and painted me as the villain to our entire family in under 10 minutes. My jaw tightened. She hadn't just dismissed me. She'd declared war. Okay, she wanted war. I'd give her a spreadsheet. I drove home from the wedding venue on autopilot, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. The buzz of my phone was a constant mocking vibration in my pocket. I ignored it. Back in my apartment, I threw my keys on the counter, bypassed the fridge, and went straight to my laptop. My hands were shaking not with anger anymore, but with a cold, focused fury. I opened a blank document. Title Times, Beth and Mark's Wedding, Gift Ledger, and Cost Savings Analysis. Asterisk. For the next 2 hours, I didn't just work. I performed a forensic accounting of my own misery. Every email. Every phone call. Every hour I'd spent placating a vendor or calming Beth down from a non-existent crisis. It all went on to the list. Asterisk, asterisk. Initial consultation and venue scouting. 8 hours at $250. HR, $2. 000. Asterisk. 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 Vendor negotiation and booking. 15 hours at $250. HR, $3. 750. Asterisk. 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 Venue discount, secured exclusive, partner rate, -$5, 120, asterisk. Asterisk, asterisk. Invitation design rework, 4 revisions, 6 hours, $1, 500. Absorbed cost asterisk. Asterisk, asterisk. Photographer crisis management, Chloe Vaughn, 4 hours. Value priceless. But let's call it $1. 000. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Timeline and shot list. creation. Last minute, 4 hours at $250. HR, $1,000. Asterisk. 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 Food truck logistics post-contract menu. Change 5 hours at $250. HR $1, $250. Asterisk. The list went on. Page after page. I tracked the hours, the negotiated savings, the after-hours calls. At the bottom of page 3, I put my standard full-service wedding coordination fee. It was the number I quoted clients who wanted the moon, the stars, and a dove released synchronized to a string quartet. Then I added it all up. The next morning, I texted her. Asterisk. We need to talk. My place. 10 a.m. Come alone. Asterisk. She arrived looking defensive, clutching her purse like a shield. Look, Ash, Mom said you're upset, but I really think you're overreacting. Sit down, I said, pointing to the chair opposite me at my dining table. The only thing on the table was my laptop and a freshly printed 3-page document face down. She sat her jaw tight. This is ridiculous. You're being so dramatic. I didn't say a word. I just flipped the document over and pushed it across the table to her. She picked it up, her brow furrowed in confusion. I watched her eyes scan the first page. I saw them widen slightly at the line item for the venue discount. I saw a flicker of something, annoyance, disbelief, as she read through the hours I'd logged. She scoffed when she got to the part about photographer crisis management. What is this? She finally asked, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Are you billing me? No, I said, my voice dangerously calm. I'm showing you my gift. The one you called cheap. You seem to have misplaced the receipt, so I printed you a new one. This is insane, Asher. You're trying to make me feel bad. You've been keeping a tally just to throw it in my face. I keep a tally for all my clients, Beth. It's how I run my business. The only difference is they pay me. You turned our family against me. I leaned forward. You cost me a 6-figure contract in Cabo. You nearly torpedoed my relationship with the best photographer in the city. You have been my single most demanding, least appreciative client of the entire year. And you did it all for free. She dropped the papers on the table like they were hot. That's not fair. I'm your sister. Exactly, which is why I did all of this in the first place. My voice finally rose the frustration of months boiling over. Look at the last page, Beth. Look at the bottom line. Her eyes reluctantly dropped back to the document. She flipped to the last page. I had totaled everything, my standard fee, the man hours, billed at my professional rate, the hard dollar discounts I had secured for her. I watched her face as the number registered. It was a visceral reaction. The color drained from her cheeks, her mouth opened slightly. She looked from the paper to me, then back to the paper, as if the ink might have rearranged itself. $37,870, she whispered. The number hung in the air between us, heavy and obscene. That's the value of my gift, I said, my voice softening just a little. That's the check I didn't ask you to write. It's more than your espresso machine. It's more than your entire honeymoon fund. It is by a massive margin the single most expensive and valuable gift you are going to receive. Silence. For the first time in months, my sister was utterly silent. She stared at the paper, tracing a line item with her finger. It was the invitation design rework. The line that ended with absorbed cost. A tear slid down her cheek, then another. The font, she mumbled. The angry font. Yeah, I said. The font? Oh God, she said, burying her face in her hands. Her shoulders started to shake. Ash, I'm so sorry. I didn't see it. I just saw my brother. And I thought, I don't know what I thought. I didn't think about what it was, times costing times you. She looked up, her eyes red and puffy. I was an absolute monster. A bridezilla. I know I was. And then to say that to you? To call you cheap? She shook her head, a fresh wave of tears coming. It was a horrible thing to say. I'm so sorry. It was the apology I needed to hear. The genuine ego-shattering kind. I took a deep breath. Okay. Apology accepted. How do I fix this? She asked, her voice thick. With the family. I was just so angry and I reacted and I made you sound awful. You fix it by telling them the truth, I said, sliding my phone across the table. Right now, in the group chat. She picked it up without hesitation. Her thumbs flew across the screen. A few moments later, my phone buzzed with a notification from the family group chat. Asterisk, Beth. Hey everyone. I need to clear something up and offer my brother a huge public apology. I completely misunderstood the massive scope and value of the wedding planning he's gifting us. He has poured hundreds of hours and saved us tens of thousands of dollars. It's an incredibly generous gift, and I was a complete jerk about it. Ash, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. We are so lucky to have you. Asterisk. My phone immediately started buzzing with replies. Asterisk. Mom, oh honey. That's so good of you to say. Asterisk. Asterisk. Uncle Mike, my mistake, Asher. Sounds like you're the man. Asterisk. Beth pushed my phone back to me, her expression a mix of shame and relief. Is that okay? It's a start, I said. Peace was restored. The wedding planning continued, but with a new dynamic. Bridezilla Beth was gone, replaced by my actual sister. She was decisive, appreciative, and a goddamn delight to work with. The wedding itself went off without a hitch. It was beautiful. On the day, as she was about to walk down the aisle, I handed her a small flat box wrapped in silver paper. She looked at me confused. What's this? Your wedding gift, I said with a slight smile. She opened it. Inside was a simple, elegant silver frame. And in the frame was a single piece of paper, the invoice. Across the bottom I had taken a thick black marker and written in big, bold letters, Paid in full. She looked at it, then at me, and this time her tears were pure joy. She threw her arms around my neck. Thank you, she whispered. Yeah, I know. It was a little bit of a dig. A final satisfying twist of the knife. But seeing her laugh through her tears as she hugged me, that was the real gift.
Story 11.
I never liked weddings. Stale cake, terrible DJs, and a room full of relatives asking why I'm not married yet. The only way I usually survive these things is with a discreet vape pen and a couple of edibles. But Francesca, my girlfriend of 2 years, had other plans for my cousin David's big day. Just drink with me, Aaron, she pleaded, sliding a whiskey ginger into my hand. Just for tonight. Don't be antisocial. Francesca was beautiful electric. When she looked at you with those wide, dark eyes, it was hard to say no. So I drank. And then I drank some more. She was the life of the party, pulling me onto the dance floor, laughing, as I stumbled through a two-step. For a few hours, I forgot I hated weddings. I was just a guy in a rented suit, drunken in love. Then Sean showed up. My cousin Sean. The family's golden boy. He wasn't the groom, but you wouldn't know it. He walked into the reception like he owned the place-tailored suit. Clinging to his gym-sculpted frame, a smug grin plastered on his face. He was a wealth management cliché who called everyone buddy and had a handshake that was more of a power struggle. "Aaron, buddy, looking sharp," he said, slapping my shoulder a little too hard. His eyes immediately slid past me to Francesca. "And you must be Francesca? I've heard things." He gave her a slow, deliberate once-over. "All good, I hope," Francesca said, her voice dropping an octave. She practically purred. I felt a familiar knot of resentment tighten in my gut. I hated the way he looked at her. I hated the way she looked back. The night wore on. The whiskey turned the lights into blurry streaks, and the music into a dull thud. At some point, I lost track of Francesca. I figured she was in the bathroom. 10 minutes turned into 20. I started to get that low-level drunk anxiety. I went looking for her. I checked the patio, the lobby, our hotel room. Nothing. On my way back to the reception hall, I heard loud, obnoxious laughter coming from a side conference room the hotel used for storage. I recognized Sean's booming laugh immediately. I pushed the door open. The room was dark, lit only by the faint glow of a phone flashlight on a small table. Around it stood Sean and two of his smarmy friends. And Francesca. She was bent over the table, a rolled-up bill in her hand, snorting a line of white powder. She looked up, her eyes wide and pupils blown. A dusting of white clung to her nostril. Sean just grinned. "Aaron, buddy, come on in. The water's fine." I felt the whiskey sour in my stomach. "Fran. What the hell are you doing?" She stood up straight, wiping her nose with the back of her hand. The defiant look she gave me was like a slap in the face. "What does it look like I'm having a good time? You should try it. Loosen up." With him, I gestured at Sean, who was now leaning against a stack of chairs, arms crossed, looking thoroughly amused. "You know how I feel about him." "And since when do you do coke?" "Oh my God, don't be so dramatic," she hissed, grabbing my arm and pulling me out into the hallway. Her grip was surprisingly strong. "It's a wedding. It's a party. It's just a bit of fun." "Fun, that's my scumbag cousin, Fran." "He's not that bad," she said, not meeting my eyes. "He was just being nice." The argument went nowhere. She accused me of being a controlling stoner. I accused her of being reckless. The whole time, I could feel Sean's presence through the door, probably listening, that smug bastard. The fight ended as it always did, with her crying and me apologizing for getting angry. Back in our hotel room, we had angry, disconnected sex. It felt less like making love and more like staking a claim. I fell asleep, feeling hollowed out, the smell of cheap whiskey and her perfume filling my head. I woke up to an empty bed. The sun was streaming through a gap in the curtains and my head was pounding like a drum solo. Francesca was gone. Her dress was slung over a chair, but her purse and phone were missing. I figured she'd gone to get coffee. I pulled on a pair of jeans and a t-shirt and stumbled downstairs to the hotel's breakfast buffet. As I was pouring a cup of much-needed coffee, I heard them. Sean's friends. They were sitting at a table a few feet away, nursing hangovers and laughing. "Dude, I can't believe he actually did it," one of them said, his voice a gravelly whisper. "Sean's a predator, man," the other one chuckled. "Total savage. Didn't even wait a full night." My hands started to shake. I kept my back to them, pretending to be interested in the assortment of stale pastries. Sleeping with his cousin's girlfriend at a family wedding, that's a new level of degenerate. The coffee cup slipped from my fingers, shattering on the tile floor. Hot liquid splashed across my sneakers. They turned to look. I just stared back my face, a blank mask. The one who spoke, a lanky guy with a weak chin, looked away immediately. I walked over to their table. My voice was dangerously quiet. "What room?" The lanky one wouldn't look at me. "Man, I don't know what you're talking about." I grabbed the front of his shirt, bunching the fabric in my fist. Don't lie to me. What? Room? His eyes widened in fear. He glanced at his friend, who just shook his head, wanting no part of it. Room 312, he stammered. Look, man, I'm sorry. I let him go and walked away without another word. The walk to the elevator, the ride up to the 3rd floor, the long walk down the hallway, it all felt like a dream. Or a nightmare. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic trapped bird. Room 312. The door wasn't fully latched. It was cracked open just enough for me to hear a soft murmur of voices inside. I didn't knock. I pushed it open. The scene burned itself onto my brain. The tangled white sheets. Sean naked from the waist up, propped on one elbow. And Francesca, her back to me, her dark hair splayed across the pillow, pulling the sheet up to cover herself as she turned. The look on her face wasn't guilt. It wasn't shame. It was annoyance. She looked at me like I was an inconvenience, like I had just interrupted her morning coffee. Sean, on the other hand, just smiled. That same smug, arrogant grin from the night before. He looked me right in the eye. He didn't say a word. He didn't have to. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I didn't do anything. A wave of pure, cold humiliation washed over me, so total and absolute that it felt like drowning. I just stood there for a second, a ghost in the doorway of my own ruined life. Then I turned around and walked away. Back in my room, I packed my bag. My hands moved on autopilot, throwing clothes into the suitcase. Then I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall. My phone started vibrating on the nightstand. A text from Francesca times Aaron, we need to talk. Asterisk. Another times. It's not what it looks like. Asterisk. Another times. Please just answer me. Asterisk. Then a call. Her picture popped up on the screen, a photo I took of her smiling on a beach last summer. I ignored it. It rang and rang, then went to voicemail. A minute later, a text from my Aunt Carol times, heard you had a rough night. Sean says, you two have an arrangement, a little weird, but whatever makes you kids happy, asterisk. My stomach twisted. An arrangement? Then another text, this one from a different cousin, Mark times, dude, WTF, everyone's calling you a cuck. You gotta get out of here. Asterisk. The phone buzzed again. A call. Francesca. Her smiling face filled the screen, an obscene parody of a life that no longer existed. The buzzing was the only sound in the room, a relentless, hateful noise drilling directly into my skull. I picked up my suitcase, walked out of the room, and left the key on the front desk without a word. My phone didn't stop buzzing the entire drive home. I just turned up the music until I couldn't hear it anymore. Back in my apartment, I threw the phone on the couch and let the battery die. For 3 days, I lived in silence. I didn't go to work. I didn't answer the door. I just sat in the dark, the image of that hotel room playing on a loop in my head. On the 4th day, a call came through on my laptop from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me click accept. Aaron, a woman's voice asked. It was hesitant, familiar. Who is this? It's Chloe. Francesca's sister. I almost hung up. What do you want? I just want to say I'm sorry, she said, her voice cracking. She told me what happened. What she did. There was a long pause. She's done this before, Aaron. The words hung in the air. What? With the drugs, Chloe said, the words tumbling out in a rush. She gets in deep, racks up a debt with some scumbag dealer, and then she finds a way to pay it off. Sean wasn't the first guy with a nice watch and a bag of coke. He was just the first one you caught her with. The humiliation I felt before was nothing compared to this. It wasn't just a betrayal. It was a transaction. I was the stable, boring guy who paid the rent while she chased a different kind of high. Sean was just a convenience. A line of credit? I'm so sorry, Aaron, Chloe whispered. You're a good guy. You didn't deserve any of this. I didn't know what to say. I just closed the laptop. That conversation severed the last thread of attachment I had. It wasn't about love or a mistake. It was just a pathetic, dirty secret. An hour later, I plugged my phone in. It lit up with a barrage of notifications. Dozens of missed calls from her. Hundreds of texts. They started apologetic, then turned desperate, then angry. The last one had come through just minutes before. Asterisk, I know you talked to Chloe. You think you know everything, fucking coward. Call me. Asterisk. So I did. She picked up on the first ring. Finally, she spat. Took you long enough to grow a pair? Was it for the coke, Fran? I asked, my voice flat, devoid of any emotion. Was that all it was? There was a beat of silence. Don't be so naive, she sneered. The coke was just a perk. Sean wanted me. He's a man who takes what he wants. It was exciting. Exciting, I repeated numbly. Yes, exciting. You want to know the truth, Aaron? I would have done it anyway, even without the debt. Do you have any idea how boring it is sleeping with you? You lie there like a dead fish. At least with Sean, I felt something. Every word was a calculated blow, designed to inflict maximum damage. The final desperate act of a cornered animal. He told everyone we had an open relationship, I said. She laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. And you're surprised. He owns you now. Everyone knows. You're just the guy who paid my rent. You're a cuckold Aaron. That was it. The word hung in the air between us, a final poison dart. I didn't say goodbye. I just hung up, opened my contacts, and blocked her number. Then I went through my family. Aunt Carol. Blocked. My uncle who'd sent a smirking emoji. Blocked. Cousin after cousin, blocked. I scrubbed them from my life like a stain. The next morning I went to a clinic. The wait was sterile and silent, a room full of people staring at their phones, all of us there for our own quiet disasters. The doctor was professional, non-judgmental. He took my blood. He told me it would be a week. That week was the longest of my life. The results came back in an email. Negative. All of it. I didn't feel happy. I just felt empty. Relieved of a weight I hadn't realized I was carrying. The following Saturday, I was in the express lane at the grocery store, holding a basket with a frozen pizza and a 6-pack of beer when I saw him. Sean. He was at the self-checkout buying a bottle of wine and a pack of condoms, laughing with one of the same friends who'd been at the hotel breakfast bar. He saw me. His smile widened. That same smug, arrogant, punchable smile. Aaron, buddy, he called out like we were old friends. No hard feelings, right? It's a dog-eat-dog world. Something inside me snapped. The cold humiliation that had been my constant companion for 2 weeks flash-boiled into pure white-hot rage. I dropped my basket. I walked the 10 feet that separated us. I didn't say a word. My first punch caught him square on the nose. I felt the cartilage crunch against my knuckles. Blood exploded from his nostrils. He staggered back, his eyes wide with shock. His friend just stood there frozen. Before Sean could recover, I grabbed the front of his expensive polo shirt and slammed a right hook into his jaw. There was a sickening crack, and I saw a tooth fly out of his mouth, skittering across the linoleum floor. He crumpled, falling into a display of potato chips, and didn't get up. I stood over him, my chest heaving, my hand throbbing. The store went dead silent. His friend stared at me, then at Sean, bleeding on the floor, and then back at me. He didn't move to help. He just gave me a slow, almost imperceptible nod. I turned and walked out of the store, leaving my pizza and beer behind. The police never came. A few days later, I heard from my cousin Mark, one of the few I didn't block, that Sean wasn't pressing charges. His own friends had told him he'd be laughed out of the courtroom. They told him he got exactly what he deserved. In their eyes, I hadn't committed a crime. I'd settled a score. That was the last I ever heard of Sean or Francesca. I quit my dead-end job. I threw out my bong. I got a therapist. I started going to the gym every day, channeling the rage into iron and sweat. It was a long road. Some days were better than others. Some nights, I still woke up with the image of that hotel room burned into my mind. But I was healing. Mark told me some of the younger cousins were giving their parents hell, calling them out for laughing at me, shaming them for taking Sean's side. It was a small thing, but it was something. It was a sign that the poison hadn't infected everyone. It was a start.